Sound Booth Theater presents a deep dive into Earth Force, Relict Legacy, Book 1. Written by Shemer Kuznets, narrated by Jeff Hayes. Featuring Justin Thomas James as Diamond, Will M. Watt as Elzygo, Dory Sachs as Lana, and Annie Ellicott as Nori. Sound design by Ahmed Mahmood. Music by Aaron J. Morton. Directed by Jeff Hayes. Chapter 12. Detour. The ship entered the city, flying several meters above the damaged buildings. "So, tell me," Bulko said to the others on the bridge, "how did it go in the shelter last night?"
"We gave them the ammo,"
Lana replied.
"They seemed really happy about it and excited at the chance to get even more."
"The boys still have no idea about the broodmother?"
No. I'm not sure I agree with Diamond's decision to hide her existence. It might spread panic, but we're risking people getting caught unaware if the warp launch a sudden attack.
He knows what he's doing, and his people respect him. People used to come to him to settle disagreements.
Bulko shook his head as if trying to rid himself of burdensome memories.
Anyway, how are we looking?
We'll arrive at your base in a few minutes,
Nori said as she gently twisted her fingers, guiding the ship on its course.
Hopefully, your men have finished preparing the Hummer.
They should. They know their stuff.
They touched down a few minutes later in front of the old library. Nori went back to the cargo hold with Bulko and they lowered the main hatch. The Hummer was waiting for them. The previously black vehicle had undergone a massive change. The heavy bulkiness was replaced with smooth, curving lines that gave the Hummer a distinctly alien vibe. The chassis had been lowered and the wheels had been extended farther out and were protected by thick plates. 2 men stood on either side of the vehicle.
Lucas, Level 2. Runner. D'Angelo, Level 2. Technician.
What the hell is this?
I don't know what to tell you, boss.
Lucas said.
That sealing kit you gave us was some next-level shit. It looked like a present wrapping at first, but after we applied it over the car, it started to change. Took about 15 minutes. Then it looked like that.
He pointed his thumb at the vehicle. Nori circled the Hummer, taking in its new features with great interest.
It's incredible. The lowered center of mass will give it better traction and stability. And look at those hydraulics.
She pointed at a big tube connected to the wheel's axis.
It looks like it can absorb some serious impact. Perfect for driving on the moon.
That shit looks like the Batmobile on steroids. I'd have been king of my old hood if I was driving this bad motherfucker.
Watch your language, man. There are ladies here.
He's right.
Nori said distractedly, moving her fingers across the smooth surface.
It's offensive to compare this baby to the Batmobile.
What the hell do you think you're doing?
I'm taking this bad motherfucker for a test drive.
Hey!
The large engineer barely managed to jump into the passenger seat before Nori fired up the light console and pushed the pedal to the floor. The Hummer's wheels sprayed a shower of gravel behind them, and then they were off. Nori expertly maneuvered the heavy vehicle between piles of debris and wrecked cars as they sped through the broken streets.
Holy shit, kid! Are you trying to get us killed?
The large man demanded, his fingers locked on the door grip.
It's better to make sure it can withstand local conditions before taking it out into space.
Nori answered philosophically as she steered onto a short ramp of discarded debris. The engine roared and the car flew over the ramp and into the air, covering more than 20 meters before landing flawlessly into a tight turn, surprising a level 4 warp in the process. The heavy vehicle rammed into and over the barbed-tailed monster, flattening and crushing its body beneath its giant wheels. Nori hit the brakes, and the Hummer came to a screeching halt. The man and woman exchanged glances, then turned to look through the back window. The mangled form of the warp remained unmoving, flattened against the broken road.
It's not healing.
I think I know why.
He opened a second light console in front of him and punched the keys.
That's what I thought. The sealing kit did a whole lot more than just make the car spaceworthy. The alien technology meshed with our own, giving it the most efficient design it could.
So the warped...
It's like what I did with the ammo. The entire car is infused with tech, so when it ran over the creature, it injured it permanently.
Bad motherfucker.
Why are you backing up?
No sense in letting it go to waste.
She opened the side door with the zapper leading and shot the downed creature in the head. The energy beam sliced through flesh and metal easily. With the kill confirmed, Nori extended one leg out and lightly tapped the creature.
Extracted. 0.6 tech. Pytech, 600.
The soft glow that emanated from the body washed over the two passengers.
Nice.
I think that's enough for now. Too bad about the front bumper, though.
Don't worry about it. I can easily fix the dent.
They drove back to the freighter and loaded the vehicle into the cargo hold.
Keep your eyes open. We ran over a warped a few blocks away.
But we've been seeing fewer of them lately.
Lucas said.
That's because most of the ugly bastards have holed up together. Make sure everyone's ready when we return. We're going to light them up.
I've been itching for some action, boss.
D'Angelo said.
I love the smell of roasted warped in the morning.
Just make sure not to die while we're gone. We're going to need everyone when we get back.
Yes, ma'am.
They closed the hangar door and returned to the bridge. Nathan had reconnected to the weird setup, and Lana was deeply immersed in a holographic screen in front of her. Nori went to the quarters and retrieved the spacesuit they'd found. She fumbled with it a bit before realizing she didn't have to. All it took was to press the futuristic alien design to her chest, and it opened on its own, snugly wrapping her body.
Nice.
She muttered to herself and returned to the bridge.
We're ready to take off. I'm going to set a course to the space station.
Nori looked around. Bulko was nowhere in sight, and her other two companions weren't paying her much attention.
No respect for the pilot.
The ship started hovering off the ground. It turned in place, its nose pointing upward. Then it launched forward like a bullet out of a gun.
All right, guys. We're at the cloud level. It's time for you to hole up in the quarters.
Lana blinked and stood up reluctantly, giving her console a longing look. Bulko stepped onto the bridge, coming from the engine room.
All right, Nathan, time to go.
Kid!
Lana frowned and moved next to her friend, reaching toward his shoulder. A column of energy became visible at her touch, surrounding the young man.
Nathan?
I don't think he can hear you. I'm ready to take the ship up to the thermosphere, and the ship's already leaking.
It's all right. We can leave him here. It says on my display that it's a Type 3 force field, and it's more than capable of containing the atmosphere within. Nathan will be fine.
I wish I knew how he did it. Then I wouldn't have to wear this stupid thing.
Lana still seemed unconvinced, but she followed the engineer to the quarters and they closed the door behind them. With a single thought, Nori's suit formed a helmet around her head, and she guided the freighter even higher. Earth's atmosphere gave way to the blackness of space, and violent drafts filled the bridge as the air was forcibly sucked out through the cracks in the hull into the void of space. Nori turned to one of the smaller consoles on her left and passed her palm over it.
Alzygo, this is Nori. We're coming in with the freighter. Should we dock inside the hangar?
Greetings, Nori. Your ship is too large for the hangar. Please use docking bay 1 instead. Sending you the coordinates.
A dotted red line appeared on one of her secondary holo monitors.
I got it. See you in a bit.
Nori followed the path. It led her to a section of the docking tube close to the main deck. She gently guided the ship closer, and a metal walkway extended outward, clamping over the cargo hold's exit.
I'm detecting multiple hull fractures on your ship. Activating containment protocols before opening docking bay door.
Another monitor flickered to life, showing a small picture of the freighter surrounded by a transparent blue bubble. A moment later, streams of air filled the bridge as the ship's life support system kicked in and pressurized the interior. Once it was done, Nori ordered her chair to recline, and she removed her suit's helmet.
You can come out now.
She called through the internal comms and glanced at Nathan. The young man sat in the exact same position, seeming completely unaware of his surroundings. The door to the quarters opened, and Bulko and Lana stepped out.
Are we there yet?
Yes.
Leaving Nathan to himself, they opened the cargo hold's outer door, revealing the attached station seal. They walked forward, entering the main docking tube next to the entrance to the main deck. Alzygo was waiting for them with an anti-grav carrier.
Greetings, Earth Force. I have the rest of your equipment ready. Shall I bring it aboard your ship?
Yes, please.
Nori held up her hand, and a terminal pole extended from the floor, unfolding to reveal several holo monitors. She ordered the device to scan the ship, and a few seconds later the results appeared on the screen.
Hull fractures detected. Fix 5,600 PyTech. Life support. Cascading overload detected. Fix 12,000 PyTech. Structural integrity compromised. Fix 35,000 PyTech. Null tunnel drive unit severely damaged. Fix not applicable.
Crap.
What's wrong? Bulko came to stand next to her.
Take a look.
Damn. Looks like the freighter took a heavier beating than I'd first thought.
How come you didn't notice it before?
I'm not sure. Maybe my engineering score isn't high enough. Or maybe the freighter's internal sensors are not suited for self-diagnostic.
We have a bit more than 9,000 PyTech. That's not enough to fix everything.
Alzygo returned with the empty carrier in time to catch her words.
If you'd like, I'd be more than happy to extend your loan to cover the extra cost.
No, wait a minute. There we go. All it needed was an engineer's touch.
Life support systems. Status 33%. Structural integrity compromised. Status 67%.
What does it mean?
The structural integrity isn't that bad. The ship can hold it together for a while, as long as we don't crash-land it again. Life support is in more critical shape, but it should hold until we return to Earth's atmosphere. That means we can ignore those two issues for now and just fix the hull.
I'll take your word for it.
She selected hull repairs and deposited the crystallized PyTech into the console's slot.
Completion time 34 minutes.
Through the corridor window, they saw large robotic arms detach from the space station and circle the ship, peeling off burned chunks and welding fractures shut.
That's not a bad idea. I had some time to think, and there are a few more things I wanted to ask you about.
They followed their host to the main deck and into his clutter-filled apartment. Alzygo brought a large tray and laid it on a raised pedestal before the humans.
Please, sample the orza fruit. Don't worry, the biosenses indicate that it's compatible with human physiology.
Nori gaped at the alien fruits, and Bulko rubbed his eyes in disbelief. Lana, however, had a different reaction.
I knew it! I just knew it!
Knew what, miss?
Lana pointed at the fruits.
These are artichokes! I always thought they looked alien. The weird green and purple colors, those spiky, fleshy leaves, the weird, fleshy fibers at the center. I always said they must have been brought in by aliens, and I was right!
She turned triumphantly to her friends. Bulko furrowed his brow, but Nori simply shrugged.
With everything that's happened lately, that's the least of our concerns.
She picked up a large artichoke, plucked the heart out, and chewed on it.
Not bad.
Thank you. The secret is to steam boil them until the stem has softened and then sprinkle some sodium chloride.
The tall alien brought one of the artichokes to his mouth, and his two opposite jaws snapped shut on it, leaves and all.
Sodium chloride?
Nori frowned at the piece of artichoke she was holding.
Salt.
So, you have more questions for me?
Alzygo looked at Nori while his jaws kept crunching his leafy meal.
Yes. I'm trying to piece together everything we know about the sudden appearance of aliens. You mentioned something about a galactic law that prohibits interference with the non-infused planets, right?
That's right.
But still, according to our findings, many ships came here all at once to spread PyTech over the Earth. Then, one of them, who apparently tried to embezzle some of the moolah, got shot down. This all feels a little too orchestrated. Someone had clearly gone to great lengths to infuse our planet, and I want to know why.
As I said before, it's a complete mystery. The amount of Pytech required to infuse an entire planet is simply staggering.
So, how did you know to come here?
He blinked at her.
What do you mean?
Nori shot him a piercing look.
You mentioned you came here as soon as you heard Earth was infused. And you've also told us you've been here for about 5 months. But the tech infusion process started 6 months ago, presumably when the freighters first arrived. That means you made it here barely a month after the calamity had started. You also mentioned that it took you some time to prepare for the journey here. Putting it all together, it seems like you knew what was going down pretty early on. Maybe even in advance. So, how did you learn about Earth's situation so quickly? You said you were told that humans had spaceflight capabilities. That implies someone knew us, studied us in advance. I want to know who that was.
Alzygo shrank back in his seat.
Oh, that.
Yes, that.
I might have exaggerated when I said I was told of your situation,
he said, lowering his head. Bulko crossed his arms over his chest.
I think we would all like a straight answer.
Lana fidgeted in her seat, but didn't intervene.
All right, I'll tell you. As I mentioned before, my brother is the family's favorite sibling. I've always lived in his shadow. I just finished delivering a shipment to another space station and sat down to relax at one of the bars when I overheard a couple of Inflidon pilots. They were discussing a mission on a planet that was going to be infused. That drew my attention. As I told you, newly infused planets have significant economic value, and at the time it didn't occur to me they might have meant they were going to actively infuse it. I simply saw this as an opportunity to improve my family's standing. One of the pilots was worried about the natives' planetary defenses systems, but the other assured him that though your species have spaceflight capabilities, you pose no threat. After that, I guess they noticed my interest because they stopped talking and left.
Alzygo's two jaws sagged a bit before he continued.
I realized that I'd stumbled on a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. You know the rest. I used up all my savings and connections to purchase this station and launch it here.
What was his name?
Whose?
The one who hired those pilots.
I do not know. They didn't mention a name. Why is this important?
Nori started answering, but Bulko beat her to it. The engineer leaned in, his face hardened.
We want to know the name of the asshole who brought on the calamity. We have a score to settle. In blood.
Alzygo leaned back away from him.
I strongly advise against it. An individual rich enough to fund such an endeavor would be extremely powerful. Maybe as powerful as a system lord. It is a bad idea to anger one of them.
We don't care.
Nori leaned forward.
What's the name of the place you overheard them?
It was a large space station called Hammerhead.
It fits. That's the name of the place our freighter came from.
Nori leaned back.
We'll have to pay them a visit eventually.
Why? You heard what Alzygo said. It's dangerous. What does it matter now? Whatever we find, it won't undo the calamity.
Nori's right, kid. We gotta show the aliens that they can't mess with humans. Make an example of the fucker who did this to us.
That's one way of looking at it. But more importantly, someone went to great lengths to land us in this situation. They have a plan for us, and something tells me it's not to shower us with candy. If we don't get on top of things, they'll play us like pawns. Once we take care of the broodmother, we'll fix the rest of the ship and head out to that station to investigate.
Alzygo bowed his head.
I apologize for not revealing this to you before, but I honestly didn't realize the full implications. As a token of my sympathy, you may use my name to arrive at agreeable terms with Hammerhead's owner.
Why would your name matter to him?
Isn't it obvious? He's Alzygo's brother.
Yes. I will use face asking for his help, but I owe you this much at least.
That's something. Thank you. Now, what can you tell us about the Cordlin? They were the ones who downed the freighter and stole the Pytech container from us. There must be a connection there that we can follow.
The Cordlin are a difficult race. They're commonly thought of as thieves and smugglers. They are strong, but not too cunning, and often hire themselves out, mostly to handle shady deals.
Shady deals like attacking a freighter full of Pytech, killing its pilot, and stealing its cargo?
It's possible.
A powerful alien sent dozens of freighters with a precious cargo, only for some of it to fall into the hands of space pirates. It doesn't add up.
Just one more thing we're going to have to figure out.
Everything about you humans is so weird. Your culture, your paths, even your thinking process seems to differ from the accepted standards.
What do you mean?
Well, you suspect someone wronged you. The evidence suggests it is a powerful individual or group, and yet, against common sense, you seek them out, charging head-on. Most enlightened races would give up on such a notion, act more prudently, and seek safety first.
Well, what can I say? Humans don't give up. We don't shy away from our problems.
Yeah, we prefer to face our problems head-on. And punch them in the face.
I'm starting to realize that.
What did you mean earlier when you said humans have weird paths?
Most sentient life forms have common paths that are based on 2 attributes out of the total 6. Technicians, soldiers, machinators, and such. But your paths rely on more.
Your sensory enhancement implant lets you see this much about us?
Indeed, miss.
I still don't get what the big deal is. I'm sure there are plenty of others who have advanced paths.
That is true. Paths that rely on 3 attributes are considered uncommon, but are still fairly widely spread. Pilots, gladiators, scientists, and the like. But 3 of you have rare paths that rely on 4 attributes, significantly increasing your score's potential. And as for your companion, Nathan, I've never met anyone whose path relied on all 6. If the rest of the humans all have such advanced paths, I think your race's actions will soon send ripples across the galaxy.
I guess it's good to be human. While we're on the subject, can you expand a little bit about paths? For example, what's the difference between secondary and primary attributes?
It's quite simple. A path's score is determined by the sum of its attributes. Secondary attributes count as half of the primary ones.
Wait. Isn't having more attributes in your path a handicap, then? An individual with a path that has a single attribute would invest in that attribute every level up instead of spreading it around.
That is an astute yet misguided assumption. Paths that rely on a single attribute are very limited. A lifter with a huge strength can do nothing but lift heavy loads. He might be great at it, but he'll have no chance in a fight against a soldier half his level who invested in strength and agility.
I think I see what you're getting at. The soldier could dodge the lifter's blows and retaliate with weapons only available to him.
Exactly. It's a crude scenario, but the logic extends beyond combat. In addition, don't forget that attributes hold additional benefits. Higher intelligence will make a person smarter and more resourceful regardless of his path. In addition, there are implants and body augmentations that require a certain attribute threshold to be used. So, having a path with a wide range of attributes means you can more freely assign those points and reap multiple benefits.
I'm starting to feel uncomfortable here. I put most of my points into strength, but that's only a secondary attribute for an engineer. Probably would have been smarter to invest more in intelligence.
Talk about the chicken and the egg.
You are correct. Engineers benefit more from control or intelligence than they do from strength and awareness. However, that does not mean you have made a grave error. You're merely 2 points away from a strength of 10. When you reach it, you'll be able to equip a wide range of personal augmentations that can prove useful in your chosen path.
Oh? Like what?
Integrated armor plating, like the one I'm wearing. It offers substantial physical protection, useful when working on unstable machines. Or a multi-purpose augmentation tool that fuses with your skeleton and offers a wide range of engineering tools.
That one sounds interesting. What tools are we talking about?
It can grow robotic arms to assist you with delicate operations. The arms come equipped with plasma cutters, measurement equipment, and can generally act as a rudimentary workbench.
I like the sound of that. How much?
The basic model costs 7,500 Pytech.
Holy shit!
Make it a solid 7 and we have a deal.
Agreed.
I appreciate the gesture. It sounds great and all, but you heard the man. I can't use it until I hit the next level and increase my strength, and I need 6 more tech before that'll happen.
You can use my exoskeleton,
she said, tugging it away. The slender straps that hugged her body started to come undone on their own, folding in on themselves until they looked like a mass of dangling metal pipes. Nori held up the bundle and looked at Alzygo.
That should work, right?
Yes. These devices bind with the wearer and increase his strength on an internal level as well. Wearing this, your friend will be able to equip the multi-purpose support augmentation.
Good. Then it's settled. Add the cost to our debt.
Nori handed the bundle to Bolko, who stood staring at her.
I appreciate the gesture, kid, but that's yours. I'd feel bad getting stronger at your expense when I'm already stronger than you are wearing it.
Strength isn't one of a navigator's attributes. It's nice to be able to punch things hard, but I'm not planning on getting close and personal when I can shoot from a distance. It makes more sense to make our heavy hitter able to hit harder. And we've already seen how important your job is on the ship. Anything that can help you patch her up quicker would benefit us all. Once we reach the moon, if we do find an alien base, I'm sure a portable workbench will come in handy. Come on, we're just wasting oxygen talking about it.
Actually, miss, I have multiple life support modules catering to a wide range of alien life forms. We're not in danger of running out of oxygen in the foreseeable future.
Nori didn't answer. Her gaze never left Bolko's.
Oh, all right. How do I put this on?
With Nori's help, the exoskeleton unfolded, wrapping the large man's body with the thin support bracers. Bolko held up one metal-wrapped fist and chuckled.
Feels like I can smash a warped's head with this on.
I have the multi-purpose augmentation tool, or MAT, stored right here. Excuse me for a moment.
The fearsome-looking alien moved to the side and clicked the console on his forearm. A hatch opened in the wall. He retrieved a small package, then brought it back, placing it on the ground in front of the bulky engineer.
Here you are.
Bolko narrowed his eyes in suspicion as he looked at the spiky metal pack.
That looks more like something you'd use to torture a guy than an engineering tool.
I assure you this is quite a standard configuration. Simply touch it to the center of your nerve cluster, and it will do the rest.
He means your spine.
Shit. Can't believe I'm doing this.
He took off his shirt, exposing his thick muscles. He picked up the metallic tool and held it to his back. From where she sat, Nori could see the ball spikes growing and shooting into the large man's back. Bolko's expression changed, becoming full of wonder. He didn't look like he was suffering any pain. Nori watched, mesmerized, as the last bit of metal was visibly absorbed into her companion's body and began crawling under his skin.
This almost tickles. I feel weird.
It'll be finished in a moment.
The bumps on Bulko's body snaked upward. They writhed around the engineer's shoulders and arms until settling in place, allowing his skin to return to its normal smooth shape.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
Did it work?
Bulko's eyes were unfocused.
Wow. I'm getting a lot of new information here. Give me a sec.
The others watched him as he concentrated, reading text that only he could see. After several minutes, he took an alien component from his pocket and held it over his palm. Lana gasped as two slender robotic arms, hardly wider than pens, emerged out of his arms and delicately poked the item. Two more arms grew from his shoulders to hold it in place, and the engineer let go of the device. There were some faint sparks, then the item started pulsing faintly. Bulko held up his hand, and the robotic arms deposited the item in his palm, then disappeared, retracting back into his body.
What just happened?
I found this geometric stabilizer on the freighter, but it was damaged. I couldn't fix it since my engineer score was too low. But with the extra strength in the mat, it was a piece of cake.
Cool. What does it do?
Once I install it in the Hummer, it'll let us drive over even rougher terrain.
Awesome. Did it hurt?
What, the arms thing? Nah, it felt weird at first, but now it feels like a part of me.
That's how it usually works. Your body and the tech from the MAT are in symbiosis.
An orange light flashed on the alien's forearm.
Repairs on your freighter have completed. You may depart at your leisure, though if you wish, you're welcome to stay as my guests. I have plenty more orza fruits in storage.
Thanks. Maybe next time. We should get going. The situation down there isn't about to handle itself.
They bid their host goodbye and returned to their ship. They arrived at the bridge and settled into the chairs that sprouted from the floor. Bulko pored over his console.
Well, internal sensors say we're space-worthy again. I guess they're good for that much at least. We should consider upgrading them soon or risk the ships exploding on us without our realizing it.
We'll add that to our shopping list,
Nori said distractedly as she operated the ship's controls. A gentle tremor ran through the freighter as the docking seal released. The ship rotated, putting the station and the Earth behind her.
Next stop, the moon!
Chapter 13. Companionship. Nori's chair melted away into the floor, leaving her standing in front of the main monitors. The three giant screens reflected the space around them, a never-ending vastness filled with specks of light. Earth's moon loomed large on the center screen. Bulko looked at the navigator.
Shouldn't you be flying the ship?
Nori shrugged.
There's no need. I plotted a course to the moon, and at maximum thrusters, we'll make it there in about 6 hours. There's no sense staring at the passing stars.
Lana's chair lowered as well.
Technically, the distance to the moon is too short to see any significant star movement. But I agree. There's no sense just sitting idly in here. Ugh. And I sort of burnt out from having pored over the ship's systems for so long.
Nathan's force field disengaged around him.
So, what do we do to pass the time?
We can sort through all the equipment we bought.
Lana suggested, flashing Nathan a smile as he emerged from his seat.
Good idea, girl.
They walked to the cargo hold and found the small pile of items the alien trader had left them. Lana picked up a plastic case about the size of a shoebox and opened it. 7 strips of metal lay on a soft layer, but the last one looked different than the others. The young expert narrowed her eyes.
Implant. Communicator. Implant. Sensor enhancement.
These are the implants we ordered.
She picked up one of the communicators and hesitantly pressed it to her temple. The rigid-looking piece of metal instantly liquefied and seeped through her skin.
Ouch. Feels like the morning after a dorm party.
An instant later, some of the silvery stuff seeped back through her skin, forming into a thin metal strip behind her right ear.
You kind of look like a cyberpunk wannabe.
Nori and Nathan each picked up an implant and held it up to their temples. The alien tech responded, creating the same shape on their right ears.
Whatever. Just give me one.
Testing. 1, 2, 3. You copy?
Loud and clear.
Nathan and Bulko nodded.
Cool. You just need to think on who you want to talk to, and the implant does the rest. They're good for about 10 kilometers on their own, but with the ship acting as a communication beacon, it should extend up to 500 kilometers.
That's good. It means we can communicate with people on the planet from low orbit.
Nori frowned and shook her head.
Don't ask me how I know that.
I guess it's just navigator stuff. Anyway, Alzygo mentioned that in most alien cultures, the implants connect to the general communication system, so the range could extend to cover an entire planet.
She retrieved the sensor enhancement implant and gingerly pressed it to her temple.
Prerequisites unmet. Intelligence 6.
Bummer.
She placed the implant in her pocket.
What else do we have here?
Bulko picked up another small pack with a wide strap connected to it.
Modular spacesuit. Power cells 100%. Air supply 100%.
He gingerly touched the box to his chest, and the strap instantly locked around his waist. The small box unfolded, rapidly spreading a thin film around his body.
Holy crap.
The fabric covered his head, blocking his sight. A second later, the part covering his face shimmered and became transparent.
That's so cool.
Good thing I'm not claustrophobic.
He examined the puncture on his arm, which wasn't covered by the suit. Then he concentrated. The suit retracted from his body back to the small pack, now belted around his waist.
Handy. Mine doesn't do that.
I think your suit is actually better. It offers some physical protection that ours don't.
She handed Nathan one of the belts and put the last one around her waist. The zero-grav boots came next. They were just oval strips of unknown material, but when held against their soles, they extended over their own shoes.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
Bulko lifted one leg to examine the new layer.
It even patched up a tear I had in my shoe.
Looks like that's everything. Anyone hungry?
Nathan nodded enthusiastically.
I could grab a bite to eat too.
They passed through the bridge and into their quarters. Nori frowned as she looked around, seeing nothing but the 6 beds.
Where's the kitchen you mentioned? Or the toilets, for that matter.
Check this out!
Lana said with a grin. She moved toward one of the beds and raised her hands. Just like the chairs on the bridge, the bed in front of her melted to the floor and several counters popped up instead. There was even an implement that looked like a stove. Lana opened a drawer and retrieved a cardboard box.
Who's up for cereal?
That's not food, girl. Move over.
He stood next to Lana, opened another counter, and took out several items. He cut thick slices of bread, spread a generous amount of mayonnaise, and slapped some jerky on top. He took a large bite and closed his eyes in pleasure.
Well, that's the breakfast of champions.
Lana looked disgusted and prepared a bowl of cereal for herself. Nori and Nathan didn't have her reservations, though, and they each accepted the engineer's sandwiches.
Not bad. How did you come up with this combo?
Easy. That's all we have in stock. Well, we have a few jars of preserved capers, but I'd die before I eat those.
I like capers.
I rest my case.
Nori bent, and a narrow stool sprouted from the floor to support her.
I assume you didn't do much cooking before the calamity?
Nope. Maria, my wife, took care of that. She always used to say that with hands like mine, I'd better stick to being a mechanic and leave the cooking to her. She also used to say that with a mug like mine, she'd be the only one willing to cook for me anyway.
I bet she was never worried about you being unfaithful then.
You're right about that. I think you two would have hit it off. She was fearless, like you.
Can you tell us a little bit more about how you got to be a gang leader? You gave us the abbreviated version, but I'd like to hear the full story.
It'll take a while.
We have plenty of time to kill.
Well, all right. I guess I can start with my name. My real name is Benjamin Williams, and I'm originally from Atlanta. You already know I used to be a Marine. Once I was discharged, I used my savings to open a car shop, pimping up cars for pompous young kids. It was a tough job in the bad part of the city, but it paid the bills. Maria and I kept to ourselves and managed to stay away from the local thugs. I guess my appearance had something to do with it. I kept everything kosher, but people still thought someone like me must be running a chop shop. A few years back, a guy brought me a car with a broken windshield. I fixed it up, then a couple of gangbangers came by and demanded I take it apart for them. I guess the guy owed them money or something, and because of my reputation with the local gangs, they thought I'd go along with it. That was around the time Julia was born. Maria and I had decided that it was time for us to contribute to the community, so she'd have a better neighborhood to grow in. Long story short, I told the gangbangers no, but they wouldn't hear it, so I had to rough them up. That could have easily gone south fast, but I guess that thanks to my reputation, the kids decided to bring the matter up to Diamond. His barbershop was neutral ground for resolving disputes. Diamond's a decent guy. He did right by me, and those gangbangers left me alone. It was Diamond who started calling me Bulko, said it was because I was as strong as a bull. After that, he'd occasionally send me kids who were down on their luck to keep busy in my garage. For most of the kids growing up in our hood, the gangs were all they had. Between Diamond and me, we managed to help a lot of them get their lives together. Some of them needed a little convincing at first, but it always worked in the end.
That sounds dangerous. Gangs don't like outside interference.
Oh, I was shot at it a couple of times. It was nothing serious. By the time Julia turned 10, you could walk around the hood at night safely. Well, unless you were white.
And then the calamity struck?
Yes. I took my girls and got out of Atlanta. Diamond and a few buddies of mine joined us. Once we made it to the suburbs, we huddled in the first shelter we found, what was later known as the Grand Mall. It was rough at first, but with me and a couple of our guys backing him up, Diamond became the shelter leader and managed to keep things under control. Mostly. We weathered the first 2 months of the calamity in relative safety. But in the third month, the warped situation got worse. We started getting a rougher crowd of refugees. Some of them thought they should be top dogs, but we made it clear to them who's in charge. They didn't like that. 2 of them waited until I was away and made it to our hut. When I got back, it was too late. The 2 assholes thought that seeing the bodies of my wife and daughter would scare me to play along.
His fists tightened.
They were wrong. I beat them to death with my own hands. It took a while. They kept healing. Probably was the same for them when they... After that, I gathered some of the guards and we took care of their friends too. But some escaped, so I left the shelter and hunted them down. I didn't care what was out there. I just wanted them dead. We quickly learned how to kill efficiently. These days you can shoot a guy a dozen times, but he'll recover. A bullet to the head usually does the trick, but you have to get close to do it properly. For me, it was easier just to beat them up. It's funny, hit them with a crowbar and they'll heal, but fists put them down for good. After we took down 3 gangs, I got the first level up message. Once I had put the 2 points in strength, killing became a lot easier. The warped were still a threat, but with a few people holding them down with chains, I could finish off the small ones with my fists. We slowly worked our way up to killing the level 2s and 3s, and I kept getting stronger by absorbing their tech. I was planning to keep at it and raise the levels of the rest of my group to hunt the bigger ones. We had casualties, but we learned how to work together. Having a functional vehicle helped a lot.
I meant to ask, how did you make it run again? And how did you get a working light console?
About a month ago, an alien object crashed outside the city. We didn't know what it was, and there was hardly anything left after the impact, but I managed to scavenge some components. My interface showed me what they were, and that gave me an idea. I found the Hummer and replaced half the engine with the stuff I found. That seemed to do the job.
What was the thing that crashed down? Another freighter?
Nah, it was small. Even smaller than the shuttle. I think it was a single-person escape pod, but we didn't find a body. So it might not have been occupied.
Aliens fighting aliens. I wish to God we could finally get a grasp of what's going on around here.
As long as they're killing each other and not us, I'm fine with it. Anyway, I got the Hummer to work, and it was a huge help in taking down more of the warped. Then my scouts spotted the freighter coming down, so we came over to investigate. I think you know the rest of the story.
You mean when you threatened us to get off your ship?
Yeah. Sorry about that. I thought at first you were from one of the other gangs.
No chance. Though I did bump into them from time to time, before the calamity.
Oh? Sounds like there's a story there.
Not really. My full name is Nori Allegra. My father's Italian-American. He immigrated to Brazil, where he met my mother. I grew up in Sao Paulo. My parents earned enough so that we didn't have to live in the favela. But most of my friends did. I started learning capoeira when I was 6, so I could take care of myself.
That explains how you're so strong. It must have been a tough childhood.
Actually, no. I had good friends, and we kept each other safe. By the time I finished high school, I was already ranked as a master. When I graduated, I received a martial arts scholarship to study in the U.S. My father's nationality allowed me to register as a U.S. citizen, and my parents insisted I seize the opportunity, so I did. I decided to stay after my graduation and eventually opened my own capoeira studio and started teaching classes. Like Bulko, I wanted to make a difference. And teaching troubled youth self-discipline through martial arts seemed to be working. I was actually doing pretty well. I was thinking of opening another studio here when the calamity hit. People died left and right. I tried to help when I could, but mostly I just ran. I couldn't stay in the shelter with the masses. I felt suffocated. I was a natural at evading the warped, so I tried to help, mostly by bringing news from the outside.
She gestured toward Lana and Nathan.
I met those two a couple of days ago, and they saved me from running into a warped ambush. Then the ship crashed down, and you know the rest of it.
And what's your story?
I'm Lana DeMille, and Nathan's last name is Barlev. He was an exchange student from Israel. My old life wasn't as exciting as yours. I'm a local. I lived with my parents, went to school, hung out with my friends, and went to college after graduation. All of that ended when the calamity hit. Nathan and I found each other and kept each other safe. Until you came, Nori.
Don't sell yourself short, Lana. You have a quick mind, and you don't panic easily. You always rise to the occasion and take charge when you have to. Without you, we'd probably still be trying to figure out what the hell is going on around us.
And what's his story?
He's had it rough. Leave him alone.
I think I know something about having it rough. But that kid has mystery written all over him. Why isn't he talking? What's that scion crap next to his race? How can he control and reprogram an alien spaceship? And how the hell can you understand what he's saying?
He's asking some valid questions.
I don't know! Nathan is... Nathan. He was always quiet and brilliant. But when the calamity came and everyone died around us, he sort of retreated into himself. We were the only ones left. We took care of each other. And we learned to...
She threw the young man a guilty look. Nathan took in a long breath and nodded at her.
Even at level 0, he could still activate some of our technology. That's how he kept us safe. I think... he can somehow manipulate the tech directly, not just technology that contains it. I guess that's how he talks to me.
He's actually talking to you?
Not exactly. He looks at me, and I sort of just know what he wants to say. It's almost like I think up the words on my own, but they come from him.
You mean he's a telepath?
No, I think he can manipulate the tech in my mind to carry messages.
I don't think that's exactly it. Nathan, can you send me a message?
The young man's forehead crinkled. Then he shook his head.
I thought so. It's you, Lana. I don't doubt that Nathan has some strange abilities, but it looks like you're the only one that can receive those messages. It must be part of your talent for grasping information so easily. I'm guessing it synergizes with his ability. Or, to put it another way, it's because you're the expert.
I guess that answers that. But after we're done dealing with the warped, Nathan, you and I are going to sit down and have a long conversation. So you better stock up on writing materials, or just learn how to talk again.
Nathan shifted uncomfortably.
Okay, so now we know each other a little better. We still have 5 hours of flight left. I suggest we use the time to rest up.
I agree.
Might not be a bad idea. First, I'm going to install the geometric stabilizer in the Hummer, then hit the shower and go to sleep. Wake me up when we get there.
We have a shower?
Wordlessly, the engineer pointed at one of the full jerry cans. Nori got into one of the empty beds.
We can all sleep. I set an alarm to go off when we get close.
They claimed their bunks and lay down. The impromptu kitchen silently retracted back into the floor as thin partitions rose around each bed, giving them a little privacy. As always, Nathan's dreams haunted him. He thrashed weakly in his bed, beads of sweat sprouting over his body as he, again and again, watched the warped tear people apart while calling to him to join them, become one with them. And as in every other night, the brave young man resisted their call. He would not succumb to those base desires. He would not let the tech deprive him of his humanity. A sharp whistle cut through the air, making everyone jump out of bed.
My ears!
Lana squirmed, covering her ears.
Make it stop!
Nori ran to the bridge, and the terrible noise died out.
Sorry about that. I didn't think of checking the default alarm sound. I guess it sounds normal for the Intidlon.
I know a great app for that. Think the ship can run Android?
Worth a try. We've nearly reached the moon. We'll enter orbit in 10 minutes.
The partitions around Bulko's bed lowered, and the large man appeared, putting on his shirt.
I'm ready for some moonwalking.
The four stepped to the bridge, and each assumed their seat in the amazingly comfortable chairs. The three large view screens reflected the moon in all its immensity, completely filling up their view. Nori's hands blurred at the console.
Reducing power to thrusters. Entering an orbit vector. And... done. All right, Lana. It's your show now.
I'm getting strange readings from the surface. It's... the ship's sensors are the worst. I've got 3 marked locations. I think they're energy signatures, but I can't say what they are exactly.
Ships?
I don't think so. I had no trouble identifying Alzygo's station, but maybe it was just because it was so big?
Can you zoom in on one of those points?
I can try.
That's it? It's only twice as big.
I'm doing the best I can. I'm starting to get the feeling that the ship was meant to haul equipment from one point to another, and nothing else. The previous owner obviously didn't invest in anything other than the bare necessities to keep it running. It doesn't even have landing gear.
Nathan concentrated, and a multi-layered light console appeared before him. He moved both his hands over the keys, and the moon's picture zoomed in some more, displaying a large crater,
Thanks, Nathan. That's the place with the strongest signature. Whatever it is, it's in the center of that crater.
That's good enough for me. Let's check it out.
What do we do if we find aliens down there?
We'll continue approaching until our sensors manage to tell us what we're up against. If we find ships, I'll get us out of here in an instant. Being already in flight should give us a head start in case they're hostile. If it's deserted, we'll decide once we know more.
Makes sense. The ship's holding up well. Looks like the moon's lower gravity puts less of a strain on it.
You know, I think it's about time we name her. We can't keep referring to her as the freighter. She needs a proper name.
I'm going to kick the ass of the first person who suggests we call her the Enterprise.
Oh no, that won't do. I have a much better name in mind. How about...
We're not calling her Earth Force One.
But...
No.
Fine. Then I'm all out of ideas. Sensor's not picking up anything conclusive.
Unity.
What's that?
That's what we'll call the ship. Unity. We're 4 different people, from different backgrounds and from different places on Earth. But we all work together, trying to keep our home from falling apart. To unify what's left of humanity.
Unity.
Unity.
Bulko nodded.
Unity.
Nathan said. The other 3 turned to stare at the young man. He lowered his head, refusing to meet their eyes.
I guess that settles that.
Hey, I'm getting something.
Is that a ship?
No, it's not broadcasting any signals other than an energy signature. Whatever it is, I think it's safe to approach.
All right, I'm bringing us in.
Unity turned gracefully, skidding above the moon's surface, racing toward the beeping dot on the monitor. Nori put her hands on the armrests, and the holographic controls materialized around her fingers. With gentle movements, she guided the ship toward their destination.
I'm putting us a little farther away, behind that big rock. It's the only flat stretch of ground I can see around here, and hopefully, if there's someone there, they won't see us coming.
I don't know if walking a kilometer on foot is such a good idea.
We've landed.
One by one, the members of the Earth Force stood up. They walked into the hangar and approached the large vehicle.
Shit. I just realized we don't have an airlock to exit the ship. Damn. Why didn't it occur to us before?
We can close the door to the bridge, then we can open the main cargo door.
That's not a great idea. The cargo hold contains about half the ship's air supply, and with the current state of our life support system, I wouldn't trust it to refill it easily.
Nathan, can you raise a force field, like you did on the bridge, to hold in air while we open the main door?
Nathan shook his head.
The normal doorway has a force emitter, so we can pass through on foot, but it won't do for the Hummer. Apparently, the main cargo door was only meant to be open when the ship is docked. It was never designed to open directly into space. He'll have to bypass some security measures to even make it happen.
I don't want us on foot out in the open in case something goes wrong. Maybe after we've made sure the area's safe.
I'm pretty sure life support can recover the air after we empty the hangar at least once.
Good enough for me.
Nori walked to the vehicle. She stopped abruptly as the large engineer held up a thick arm to block her path.
What are you doing?
You should stay here. You're the only one who can fly this ship, in case something goes wrong and we need Unity to come pick us up.
Hell no, I'm not staying behind. Besides, you need me to drive.
I can drive the Hummer just fine. Maybe not as well as you, but I can get us there.
He's right, Nori. Someone has to stay on Unity, and you're the only one who can fly it if something goes wrong.
She tapped her ear lightly.
We'll stay in contact. You'll know everything that happens instantly.
Damn it. I guess you're right. I'll stay on the bridge and try to monitor your movements. You be careful.
Bulko touched an imaginary hat.
Yes, ma'am.
Nori grumbled and headed toward the bridge, sealing the door behind her. The others climbed into the vehicle. Lana and Nathan took the back seat while Bulko sat behind the wheel.
Nori, we're ready.
Everyone got their spacesuits on?
Yes!
Opening the main hangar door.
The Hummer shook violently as the air was rapidly sucked out of the hangar and into the void of the moon's atmosphere. Bulko waited until the hangar door was fully lowered, forming a platform to the surface. A light console flashed on at a wave of his hand, and the large engine hummed into life. He started driving, slowly leading them down the platform. The front wheels touched the surface, and an instant later, they were speeding along its gray surface.
Holy shit! We're driving on the moon!
We are, aren't we?
Let's see. The seal is working. We have breathable air in here. We should take off the masks to conserve the suit's oxygen.
They each retracted their suit's masks, making them fold back around their necks. Lana wiggled between the front seats, getting into the seat next to the engineer.
Hey! What are you doing?
She ignored him and started working the console. A blinking dot appeared on a holo display, and a dotted red line extended from their location toward it.
Just making sure you don't take a wrong turn somewhere.
We're driving inside a mostly flat canyon. Not many options to get lost around here.
It's just up ahead. 500 meters.
They rounded the giant boulder that stood between Unity and their target, and a vast open plateau spread before them.
I don't see anything.
Just keep driving. 400 meters.
The Hummer plodded forward effortlessly, not even bouncing as they drove over the rocky surface.
200 meters.
Still not seeing anything, and I can see all the way to the canyon walls.
100 meters. It's just up ahead.
Still not seeing it. Hold on.
The Hummer came to an abrupt halt, stopping several meters away from the edge of a large hole. Lana gulped and looked at the crater they had almost plunged into. It was roughly 50 meters in diameter and almost invisible from a distance against the flat terrain. They only noticed it when they were almost on top of it.
What the hell could be down there?
I don't know. This Hummer doesn't have real sensors, only some basic indicators. The outside temperature is about 10 degrees warmer. Whatever's down there gives off a lot of heat.
Helmets up.
Lana and Nathan hurried to comply, and their spacesuits grew to cover their heads. Bulko opened the door, letting the air out. His feet touched the ground, and a soft glow came from his shoes. He looked down.
These zero-grav boots look like LED sneakers.
He walked gingerly, testing their performance. After several steps, he grew confident enough to walk over to the edge of the hole and look inside. His breath caught in his throat.
Holy Mother of God.
Chapter 14. Moonwalking.
What do you see?
Nori's voice was tense over the comms.
It's a giant, red-hot piece of rock,
Bulko said.
It's enormous.
Lana and Nathan approached him and looked down.
It's a meteorite. Since it's still hot, it probably hit the surface not long ago.
How did it heat up? There's no atmosphere here to cause friction.
You're right. I have no idea.
She bent down and picked up a small piece of rock.
What are you doing?
This piece looks different from the others. I think it's a little warm, too.
Good idea, Lana. Though we don't exactly have a science lab over here.
It's worth a try. I think it's safe to assume the heat was the energy signature I detected earlier.
Well, this has been interesting, but there's not a lot we can do about it. We should get back to the ship.
Nathan and Lana nodded and followed the engineer back to their vehicle. The drive back to the ship went smoothly. Once the door closed behind them and the cargo hold pressurized, the door to the bridge opened and Nori stepped through.
So, for our first moon mission, we found a piece of rock?
Looks like it.
A glowing rock.
Damn.
Nori looked down for a moment, then back up at her friends.
Life support system had a hard time pressurizing the hold. I'm pretty sure we can do it one more time, but we'll have to take it easy after that.
But we have 2 more potential targets. Which one are we going to check out next?
The meteorite was the strongest energy signature, right?
Yep.
Then let's go to the weakest one next. It'll help give us a perspective to what the sensors are showing us.
All right.
Then buckle up.
Nori walked toward the bridge. Unity shuddered as the thrusters fired up, and she was soon flying above the moon's surface, speeding toward their next target. Nori's eyes narrowed in concentration as she guided the ship with minuscule movements of her holographic-wrapped fingers.
It's 200 kilometers away.
Any idea what we're looking at yet?
No. All I can say is that it gives off an energy signature about 1,000 times weaker than that giant rock. But we'll soon find out. 150 kilometers.
Okay, this is close enough. I'm setting us down and...
No, wait! Keep going.
What are you talking about, girl? If someone's out there, they'll spot us for sure. If they haven't already.
No, they won't. Trust me. Just keep flying until we're over it.
You're the expert.
Mm-hmm.
She pushed her fingers forward, and their speed increased. On the main view screen, a small dot appeared on the horizon.
Is that...
Bulko narrowed his eyes.
I think it is.
Nori said slowly, as the dot grew larger.
Yep, it's one of our rovers, from the Chang'e 4 Chinese expedition, I think.
The ship sped over the small robotic vehicle. The picture froze, and they could clearly see a blinking green dot below its solar panels.
I guess it's still working. It probably feeds on solar energy during the day and sends signals during the night. I guess we're lucky our rubbish sensors managed to pick it up.
If it's still working, I guess that means the tech hasn't reached the moon.
Looks like it. Lana, now that we know what small and big energy readings look like for real, what can you tell us about the last one?
It's about 60% the intensity of the meteor, or 600 times more powerful than the rover.
Sounds like just about the right amount for alien technology, don't you think?
Yeah. Let's go for it.
It's on the other side of the moon. It'll take us half an hour to get there.
All right, you get us there. I'm going to try and figure out what this rock is made of.
How the hell are you going to do that? We don't have microscopes here or their alien equivalent. That we know of.
You'll see.
Lana walked toward the back door, leading to the shuttle bay. The room that hosted the shuttle was empty. Lana placed the rock on the floor and stepped outside. She closed the door and activated the small light console that usually monitored the shuttle.
Now, let's see. Nori unlocked all the ship's systems, so I should be able to... Just press here and... Yes!
A monitor above the console lit up and displayed a list of options.
Here we go. Active shuttle scan.
She clicked the button decidedly.
Shuttle bay is empty.
I know it's empty. We had to pawn the shuttle. Do the scan anyway, you stupid machine.
The console flickered at her attempts.
Ugh, damn it! Override and scan the bay.
She pounded the keyboard.
Scanning commencing.
Lana straightened her shirt.
That's right. I'm the expert, so you do as I say.
Scan complete. Shuttle bay is empty.
It's Lana!
Nori exclaimed, and the ship veered off course as she fumbled the controls. On it! Bulko shouted. He jumped off his chair and was about to run when Lana returned to the bridge.
Everything's all right. Sorry if I startled you.
What happened?
It just... I think we'll need to visit Alzygo to analyze the meteorite piece.
Sit back down, Lana. We'll reach our target soon, and I'll need you to find me a place to land.
The young expert returned to her seat, and they continued flying the rest of the way in silence, each preoccupied with their own consoles.
We're nearly there.
Lana said, checking one of her side monitors.
Looks like the terrain is pretty rough. A lot of hills, cliffs, and fissures. I detect an open spot about 10 clicks away from the target.
Clicks?
It, just felt like the right thing to say. You know, in the movies.
Hey, it's fine by me, girl. Used to be a Marine, remember?
I've got the location. Following course.
Unity veered left and right, avoiding towering cliffs and protruding boulders until finally reaching an open expanse of land that was barely large enough to accommodate her size.
That was intense.
Nori said, wiping a bead of sweat off her forehead before disengaging from the holo controls.
Nice flying, Ace. All right. Same drill as before. Nori will stay here while the rest of us...
Oh, hell no. This is the last location. You're not leaving me behind this time.
We went over it. You should stay on the ship.
No, I won't. In all probability, this is the site we're looking for, and I'm not about to miss visiting an alien base. Besides, the terrain out there is harsh, so you'll need a competent navigator to drive.
Listen, kiddo. You're the only one who can fly and bail us out. You're staying right here, and that's final.
Oh?
Nori raised an eyebrow.
Is that so? Who made you team leader?
The large man straightened to his full height. At a head taller and twice her width, he struck an imposing figure.
I'm the senior person here and the only one of us with military training. Before any mission into enemy territory, you define an exit strategy and a fallback location for regrouping in case of trouble. And that's your job. You're staying right here.
Nori crossed her arms, not budging an inch.
I don't care. You don't call the shots around here.
Bulko tightened his fists and took a threatening step toward the defiant woman. Nori held her ground.
So this is what it came down to? You're going to what? Force me to stay behind?
Bulko lowered his hand.
No, damn it. It's just that you don't listen.
Like all those other people you've killed who didn't listen? Or maybe they just didn't agree with you on something?
No, damn it!
Bulko punched the bulkhead, leaving a visible dent on the metal.
Someone has to be willing to do the hard stuff, and sometimes it means getting your hands dirty. Someone has to step up
and be willing to kill.
Sometimes. Sometimes it is the only thing you can do to change things for the better.
No,
Lana said, taking a step to stand next to Nori.
we'll do things differently. No violence. The ship gives us power and responsibility for the rest of the survivors. We have to set an example.
You kids and your new age crap. You don't know what you're talking about. You're all too young. You don't know what it means to face the horrors of war. To see people you care for die in front of you.
Oh, we don't? So the last 6 months, watching the world break apart was what? An exotic vacation?
We all lost loved ones. It's not an excuse. We're better than that.
Fine. Have it your way. I get it. No need to keep on about that. I can understand new concepts once they've been beaten enough times into my head.
We've got to work together here, making the best of each of our paths and abilities. In my book, that means we each have an equal say in how we do things.
You can't run a military vessel with democracy. Someone has to be in charge, so when all shit breaks loose, someone can issue a command and the rest will follow.
You're right. I nominate Nori to be our captain. All in favor?
She raised her hand. Nori blinked in surprise at the sudden announcement. Nathan hesitantly raised his hand up.
Guys, I'm not sure that you've thought it through. I mean...
Oh, what the hell.
Bulko raised his hand as well.
Now it's unanimous. I guess that makes you our new captain, Nori.
You're really all right with that?
We pretty much do what you say anyway. Might as well do it officially.
All right. I accept. Everyone, let's go to the Hummer and...
Not so fast. As the captain, it's your duty to stay on the ship, right?
She frowned at him. He raised his hand defensively.
Hey, I don't make the rules.
I'm coming, and that's final. Any objections?
The young man took a step back and shook his head.
Hey, I object.
Bulko raised his hand.
Too bad. You're overruled. And since we've just established it's not a democracy...
Nori pushed past him toward the cargo hold.
Fine.
He hurried after her.
But I'm driving.
I'll let you park the car when we return,
she said, not bothering to look back. The large man grumbled, but took the passenger seat without further argument. Lana and Nathan obediently climbed into the back seat. The Hummer's doors closed with a whoosh, sealing the air inside. Nori input a series of commands on the vehicle's console, and the giant cargo door lowered. The Hummer's engine roared to life, and Nori pressed the gas pedal to the floor. The giant vehicle shot out of the ship, picking up speed along with the rush of escaping air. They raced up a mound of dirt and became airborne. Lana screamed in fright. With the moon's weak gravity, the jump took them 100 meters, landing on the other side of a rocky, jagged field. The Hummer screeched as the navigator turned it into a narrow channel between two hills, and then it stabilized as she maintained a steady course. Bulko was breathing quick and shallow.
Damn, girl! You nearly gave me a heart attack.
Told you that you needed me to drive. We still have some distance to cover, and by the looks of it, the terrain doesn't get any better.
Maybe you can slow down just a tad?
Sorry, no can do. There's a chasm at the end of this flat expanse, and we need to pick up speed to make the jump.
What jump?
This one.
Nori pointed ahead. A vast fissure appeared at the end of the road. It was more like a rift, easily 200 meters across.
Oh, no. We have to find another way!
Relax. I got this.
She pressed on the gas and turned the wheels toward the elevation on their left. The Hummer's engine roared even louder as it churned the rocks and climbed the side of the hill, gaining altitude. The hill ended. The ground dropped beneath them, and then they were flying over the fissure.
You're crazy!
For several gut-wrenching seconds, it looked like they were not going to make it. But then the giant wheels grabbed the edge and catapulted them forward. The terrain became smoother after that, and they were able to cover the rest of the way with relative ease. Once they got closer to their destination, Nori turned the Hummer to scale the side of a large boulder at a near vertical incline, a feat that was only made possible by the moon's low gravity. They reached the top, and finally the Hummer came to a stop. The land stretched below them, revealing several kilometers of uneven terrain. At the center of it stood several perfectly square blocks of dark metal. Nori turned back to her still reeling passengers and grinned at them excitedly.
Found it.
The Hummer drove forward slowly, its passengers on high alert for signs of danger as they neared the metal blocks. But there was no movement.
Looks abandoned, don't you think?
Nori whispered.
I don't see any spaceships.
Bulko whispered back.
Why are we whispering?
Lana whispered as well.
So the aliens don't hear us. Obviously.
But sound doesn't carry out here in space.
Oh. I guess we don't need to whisper then.
I think I see something behind those boxes.
The metal squares were about 10 meters in length and 5 meters in width. She slowed the Hummer come Moonlander and bypassed one of the boxes.
Oh, shit!
A giant metal pike slammed into the ground in front of the Hummer. Nori cursed and hit the brakes, barely avoiding ramming into it. Another pike landed on the other side, and another one behind it.
We're trapped!
Something large and bright shone in front of them. Lana gasped as a gigantic head rose above the metal box. It was perfectly round and full of glowing, projector-like eyes.
It's warped!
Before either one of them could act, the giant monster opened its mouth. A steady stream of blocks poured out of it into the open top of the box. The four companions exchanged bewildered looks. The flow ended. Then the thing's eyes dimmed and the head pulled back, the legs following.
Oh, what the hell was that?
Nori shifted gears and carefully guided the Hummer forward. They turned the corner in time to see the huge, spider-like robot burrow into the ground. Its main body was a thick ring with 8 pike-like legs attached to it. It lowered itself into the ground, and the giant head hovered above the ring body. The mouth opened again, and a stream of yellow energy erupted out of it, burrowing into the ground while the ring served as a bracer for the hole's edge.
What is it doing?
It's not a warped. It's a mining machine.
How can you tell?
Easy. It says so on my display. Infusion Excavator Mark IV.
So these boxes are... what? Shipping containers?
Looks like it. I think we just hit the jackpot.
Why would aliens drop an excavator on the moon and then leave?
Maybe they discovered something that was worth the effort?
We should be careful. That thing must be worth a lot. They're not going to leave something like that lying around unguarded.
So, what do we do now?
It looks like those 4 containers will fit snugly inside Unity's cargo hold, don't you think?
Nathan nodded and looked at Lana pointedly.
Nathan says you're right. Everything here is in Thidlon design, just like Unity. It was meant to go together.
All right. We should figure out exactly what this thing is mining and how much it has collected so far.
There's a console on the side of each of the containers.
Lana pointed.
I bet it can tell us what's inside.
All right. I'll drive the Hummer out of the way. We don't want that thing to accidentally step on us.
She put the vehicle in reverse and drove 100 meters away.
All right. Masks on, everyone. We're going out.
The Hummer's doors lifted upward, and the 4 companions stepped outside.
Let's go.
They walked slowly on the moon's uneven surface, keeping a careful watch on the excavator. The giant machine continued drilling into the moon's crust, ignoring the intruders. When they reached halfway, the excavator rose again, huge pike-like legs lifting it off the hole, and walked toward another box. It lowered its head above it and released another stream of square objects. The companions continued until they reached the closest container.
I'll check the console.
Lana approached the opaque screen. She reached her hand out and touched it lightly. A light console switched on. The opaque screen instantly flared to life, displaying rows of data. A terrible metallic screech erupted, causing everyone to wobble in their place.
What was that?
I thought sounds don't carry over in space.
It doesn't! It carried through the ground and the air in our suits!
It's the excavator! It's coming this way! Run!
They left the container behind and made a mad dash toward the Hummer. A stream of yellow energy hit the ground in front of them and it exploded outward. Luckily, the beam vaporized everything it hit, so there was no debris, but the concussion was still strong enough to throw everyone away like bowling pins. Lana was thrown backward toward the crate and her back slammed painfully against the hard surface. She squinted in pain, but her eyes shot open in horror at the view in front of her. The excavator was chasing after her friends. The impact had sent them all flying in the moon's low gravity, but their zero-grav boots were advanced enough to pull them back down to the ground and the enraged machine. It charged at Nori first, trying to squash her with its legs, while the head spun to the side and released another beam that barely missed Bulko. Lana could clearly hear Nori curse as she nimbly evaded the machine's legs, using her arms as well as her legs to launch herself back and forth. Lana thought for a moment she was seeing things as Bulko's eyes flared in red. He picked up a rock the size of a dinner table and threw it at the excavator. The rock hit its head, turning it around, but not doing any discernible damage. Instead of turning back to the engineer, the machine's eyes flared up, pointing at a different figure sprawled on the ground. Nathan.
No!
Lana screamed in horror as she saw the creature lowering its head and opening its mouth, aiming at the prone man. Though her back still hurt, she pushed herself off the container's wall and ran at the giant construct.
Leave him alone, you big rust bucket!
With a thought, she deactivated her boots and kicked her legs, launching herself at the creature. She hit the creature's head just as it fired. The head jerked slightly, and the beam missed Nathan. Lana slid down onto its ring body.
Lana, do something!
The athletic woman was moving like a circus acrobat as she dodged the many legs that kept trying to crush her. Lana frantically looked around and spotted a dark console just next to her. She reached out and tapped it. A message flashed across her view.
Defense mode engaged. Interface locked.
I can't access the controls! It's locked!
The machine ignored her and turned to Nathan again.
Use the zapper!
Bulko's eyes looked normal now. He ran at one of the legs and punched it hard. The puncher sprang forward, adding to the force. Between the weapon and the exoskeleton, the engineer's strike had 14 points of strength behind it. The mining rig's limb was yanked out of the ground by the force and the entire thing wobbled, taking several precious seconds to stabilize itself. That was all the time Lana needed. She drew out the small alien weapon and fired at the console. The weak beam hit, blasting it to bits and exposing the circuitry behind. The excavator tilted violently, nearly losing its balance, and Lana dropped the weapon to find a handhold. 2 of its 8 legs hung limply from its side, but the other 6 worked furiously to balance it. Lana was almost hurled away. Her hand waved frantically, looking for purchase. She reached through the broken console and grasped a scorched, cylindrical component.
Tech extraction commencing.
Beams of light shot out of the twisted metal and flowed into Lana and her companions.
Extracted 12 tech. 15% success rate. Level 5 reached.
Holy shit! I just hit level 5!
Me too. Lana, whatever you did, don't stop. The machine looks like it's about to get its shit together.
The giant excavator stopped thrashing and was slowly rising to its full height. 3 light consoles flared to life on other parts of its ringed body, and streams of information ran on their monitors. Lana's hands clutched the machine with a death grip as even more data streamed across her own view.
Path crossroad reached. Choose 1. Admin. Improve systems access and information gathering. Agent. Improved communication and networking.
The excavator finished recovering and wobbled on its 6 remaining legs. Lana stared at the closest console, 3 meters away, and made a decision.
Admin.
She released her grip, stood up, and launched herself to the next console. The machine turned and she nearly missed her mark, but her foot caught on a bend in the metal, which was enough for her to shift to face the console. The same message as before appeared, but this time a new option showed.
Defensive mode engaged. Interface locked. Hack?
Yes!
Lana thought desperately. Nori had finally fumbled a dodge, and one of the giant legs kicked her, launching her dozens of meters away, despite her boots. A myriad of pictures and text appeared on Lana's view. She didn't know what it meant or what to do with it. All she could do was watch in desperation at Bulko, who held up another giant boulder as the machine charged and stepped on him, burying him under the heavy load. Then nothing stood between it and Nathan's still unmoving body.
No!
The images and symbols flashed across her view as her mind struggled to comprehend what was happening. The machine's mouth opened again, aiming at the young man. Nathan stirred. He lifted his head to stare directly at the death that awaited him. He pointed a finger at the giant machine, and his mind filled with the insistent demand of the tech to be heard. Then his eyes rolled up, and he fainted again. At her perch on the excavator, Lana's eyes widened as she felt another's presence in her mind. And suddenly, the symbols organized on their own.
Hack successful. Score results. 30 out of 30. Access granted.
The text displayed on the machine's monitor slowed and formed into new options.
Excavator controls. Logs. Deactivate defensive mode.
Lana's hand shot forward, nearly punching the console. The excavator's mouth, already filling with energy, froze in place. Its eyes dimmed and its body slowly descended. The legs folded around the ring-like body, and the head lowered to rest in the middle. It looked surprisingly like a flying saucer. Lana breathed a sigh of relief and jumped off the dormant construct. She looked around frantically, searching for her friends. Bulko was nowhere in sight. Nori was sprawled on the ground nearly 50 meters away and was struggling to move. And Nathan lay motionless on the ground not far from her. Earth Force was down. Chapter 15. Earth Force Rising.
Nathan!
Lana bent over him and sighed in relief when she saw his spacesuit was still intact. The young man didn't seem injured, as far as she could tell, but his eyes were glazed over, the white showing. A movement caught her attention. Then Nori stumbled toward her. Lana gaped. One of the woman's arms was bent the wrong way, and her legs didn't seem to be working properly, but the tough navigator pushed through the pain to reach her.
Nori! Are you alright?
She looked even worse from up close.
I'll live. I broke my arm, and I think I smashed both my kneecaps. But the tech's already working on fixing me up. Where's Bolko?
Lana lifted a shaking hand and pointed at a boulder.
The excavator stepped on him just as he was about to throw that boulder. I think he's dead.
We'll see about that.
She limped toward the boulder and squatted next to it. A leg, obviously crushed, protruded from under it. Nori tapped the leg lightly.
Wake up, big guy. He's alive. I figured it would take more than a giant rock to kill someone with his strength.
She winced as she looked at her broken arm and glanced back at Lana.
I'll need your help. I can't lift that thing on my own.
What are you talking about? That thing must weigh a ton.
We're on the moon, remember? It only weighs a couple 100 kilos at most.
Right. 16.5% of Earth. That's still too heavy for us to lift.
I know. Help me get to the Hummer. We'll shove the boulder off him.
No, it's too risky. You could end up squashing him even more.
She looked with concern at Nathan's still body.
I have an idea, but I'm worried about Nathan. Will you watch him?
Sure, I can play sitter.
Lana helped her limp over to Nathan, then walked to the disabled excavator.
Lana, what are you doing?
Just watch.
She climbed on the machine's ring body and accessed the hacked terminal. Her fingers thrummed on the light console for a few seconds, then she lifted her head.
I can't fully control this thing. I don't have the right path for that. But I can still do this.
2 giant legs unfolded underneath the construct. They gently squeezed the boulder and lifted, revealing the flattened engineer. His body was literally pressed into the ground, forming a human-shaped indent. It looked like every bone in his body had been broken, but his head appeared mostly intact, thanks to his shattered hands that were positioned protectively over it.
Did we win?
Yeah, we did. How do you feel?
I think I suddenly understand what being a pancake feels like. Not a great experience, let me tell you that.
If you're well enough to joke, I think you'll recover in no time.
I really hope so. Right now, the only thing that's keeping me lucid is that I can barely feel my body.
You'll recover. I met a guy who had shattered his spine in a car accident that was back on his feet a day after the calamity.
We don't have a day to stay put. My suit only has 3 more hours of air left.
Mine too. Oh, thank God the aliens know how to build these things to last. An Earth-made spacesuit wouldn't have survived that hit.
Nori put a hand on his shoulder.
Sorry. Don't worry about oxygen. Worst case, I'll bring the Hummer and we'll return to Unity. But I don't think that will be necessary. We're level 5 now, so I think we should heal up pretty quickly. I can already move my arm a little and my knees are feeling much better.
That's right! We leveled up! How cool is that?
How did it happen?
I'm not sure. I shot the console just like Bolko said, and there was this weird component behind it. When I touched it, the tech was extracted and we leveled up.
So we can extract tech from machines now? That doesn't sound right. Alzygo told us that technology is infused by the ambient tech in the air, which is incompatible with us. Besides, the quantities are minuscule compared to what it takes to infuse live creatures.
I can't explain it, but that's what happened.
Then what happened? How did you stop it from killing us all?
There are 4 consoles up there. I hacked one of them.
Hacked it?
Yeah, I got the level up message and acted on impulse. Apparently, my path had a crossroad and admin was an option. So I chose it and hacked the terminal.
Only what?
Ugh. I don't know exactly how I did it. Everything looked so chaotic, I couldn't make heads or tails of it. Then all of a sudden the hack was successful. But It required a score of 30 to hack.
30? How the hell did you manage that? My own path score is just 10.
Mine's at 11.
Lana looked at Nathan's prone body.
I think Nathan helped me somehow. The console was full of symbols that didn't make any sense, but then he looked up for a split second, and they suddenly ordered on their own. I think that's why he's unconscious. Like he's overtaxed himself or something.
At least we won.
Nori grabbed the younger woman's shoulder with her good arm.
That was a close call. Great job, Lana. You saved us all. If that thing had hit us with its energy beam? If you hadn't been so quick leveling up in the middle of a fight.
I kinda had to rush it, but I suggest the rest of you hold off leveling until we're back on Unity. Take time to do it right.
Mm-hmm. Oh, dear God. I'm starting to get sensation back.
How do you feel?
Like a giant motherfucking robot squashed me with a giant motherfucking boulder. And it hurts like hell.
You'll be all right.
Nori stood, grabbed her broken arm, and with a quick motion and a grunt of pain, pulled it straight.
What are you doing? You need to rest!
It was taking too long. We don't want to stay out in the open like this. Besides...
She raised both hands and wiggled her fingers.
I'm all good now.
Damn, girl. You're one crazy-ass kid, you know that? Oh. Don't even think of trying that shit on me. Not unless you want to hear an old man scream.
Don't worry, you're safe. Lana, I think Nathan's coming around.
The younger woman hurried toward her and leaned over the young man. His eyelids were fluttering and the whites of his eyes were no longer showing.
Nathan! Are you alright?
He opened his eyes and smiled weakly at her. He looked extremely tired.
You really had me worried there, you know. That excavator almost killed you. 3 times! Here, let me help you.
Lana helped him to his feet, and the young man curiously took in the sight of the immobile machine.
Nathan, did you help me hack it?
He nodded, and his expression became haunted, almost fearful.
He tried to control the excavator using his path, but it took too much out of him. Instead, he helped me by lowering its defenses, but the strain was too great and he fainted. You shouldn't have done that! You didn't know what would happen. You could have died!
Nathan nodded again and closed his eyes. Visions and feelings from the brief moment he allowed the tech to grab at him flashed in his mind. He shivered. He almost lost control of himself trying to form the connection. If he hadn't fainted...
Kid, if he hadn't done that, we'd all be dead by now.
Doesn't mean I have to like it.
What's to like? Let's just hope we didn't risk our lives for nothing. We still need to check what's inside those containers.
Lana?
Alright, I'll go check.
We hoped you'd volunteer.
The young expert approached one of the containers and activated the terminal mounted on its side.
Inthidlon standard container. Trinium alloy, 35 tons. Palladium alloy, 15 tons.
Jackpot! 35 tons of trinium and 15 tons of something called palladium.
Huh. Isn't it just a bit too convenient? We found the exact thing we were looking for.
I don't think so.
Bulko examined his hands as he clenched and unclenched his fists.
According to that freaky alien merchant, trinium is a common alloy in tech-based technology. I examined the information we had on it while I was working on the ammo. It has a very intricate structure, beyond Earth's abilities to produce. Its component elements are common, but they aren't always found next to each other. Looks like the aliens found a spot right here, and decided to start a little mining operation on the side.
I'll check the excavator's log. It should have more information.
She went back to the folded machine and accessed the light console. She frowned as tidbits of information ran over the console.
It says here it was deployed 2 months ago with the objective to mine valuable minerals. That's interesting. Looks like the owner returned several times to pick up the collected resources. The last time was 5 days ago.
Bulko and Lana exchanged worried frowns.
There's also a partial mapping of the moon specifying high concentrations of minerals. Looks like this machine is capable of not only extracting various ores, but also of forging them into specific alloys. There's also a summary of everything it produced. 86 tons of trinium, 31 palladium, and 200 kilos of... oh my.
What is it?
Mithril. Looks like Tolkien was onto something. Think he was an alien?
I doubt it. It's probably just a translation of the alien language. I'm guessing this stuff has properties like the ones described in our fantasy literature.
Which are...
Light and strong.
It also says here it only reached 53% capacity. The excavator needs 4 more days to fill the containers.
We don't have that time. We'll take the containers as they are now. 86 tons of trinium translates into a whole lot of ammo.
We couldn't make it keep working anyway. It says here it requires a machinator or an equivalent path to operate. But, aren't we worried the aliens who put it here will be angry if we took it?
You heard Alzygo. Humans have a claim on the moon, which makes whoever landed here a trespasser. So we're free to confiscate everything here.
They might see it differently.
Then they're welcome to come look for us. The guys who put it here had something to do with the calamity, and that puts them on my payback list. If the little green men have a problem with what we did...
He cracked his fingers menacingly.
Actually, the Akai, the little green men, are a peaceful race. I read about them in the file Alzygo gave me. The Inthidlon, however, are tall and blue, like the dead one we found on the ship. According to their description, mining uninhabited planets is right up their alley.
Whatever.
Bulko got up on wobbling legs and bent his knees a few times.
Good as new.
Let's get back to the Hummer and bring back Unity to pick up everything. Lana, any idea how we can bring the containers aboard?
Yes, they each have anti-grav built in and can be controlled remotely.
Good.
The 4 returned to their vehicle, and Nori drove them back. This time, instead of jumping over the wide rift, she followed a path that Lana helpfully brought up, only having to jump over a narrow strip. Unity was waiting for them right where they'd left her with the cargo door still lowered. Once Nori drove the Hummer into the ship, they closed the main door. The ship's life support kicked in, filling the space with breathable air. Nori tugged at her spacesuit and it unfolded from her body, leaving her in her normal clothes. The others followed suit, then followed the navigator into the bridge. Nori called for her seat, and her hands reached to activate her mini terminals.
I'm cutting off life support in the cargo hold. No sense in stressing the systems. We're going to reopen it to pick up the containers anyway.
Unity lifted gently as Nori steered her toward the mining site, and they zoomed over the rift as if it was nothing more than a crack in the ground. In no time at all, they reached their destination, and Nori gently guided the freighter down.
We're in position. Lana?
The young woman frowned at her light console.
The sensors on the ship are utter crap. They keep picking up compatible signatures, but don't actually manage to lock onto the containers.
Damn. We've already strained life support pretty badly. If we'll have to go out and bring them in by hand, I'm not sure the system can handle pressurizing the hold again. It could kill them.
We'll have to risk it. Those containers are the reason we traveled all this way. We can't leave them behind.
We don't need to risk it. I'll go into the cargo hold, put on a suit, and bring them in. After that, I'll go into the Hummer with the rest of the suits and use their air supply to repressurize the interior. Combined, it should be enough until we reach the space station.
That's too risky. You don't know if 3 suits are enough to repressurize the Hummer. And even if they do, it might not be enough to last the trip back.
Do you have a better idea that won't potentially kill us all?
Wait! I think I know a better way.
Nori and Bulko looked sharply at Lana.
Just give me a minute.
She closed her eyes and concentrated.
What the hell are you doing, girl?
I still haven't assigned the free point from the level up. I'm increasing my intelligence to 6 and... Oh, wow. This is awesome. I feel like my brain got a jumpstart from drinking 10 energy drinks.
So now that you're smarter, you think you can come up with a better plan?
Not exactly.
She took out a small metallic item from her pocket and held it up triumphantly.
The sensor enhancement implant.
Exactly.
Lana held the implant over her temple. The metal melted and flowed under her skin. She squinted rapidly several times as her friends gaped at her.
Holy hell.
Bulko took a step back, unable to take his eyes off the young woman.
What's wrong?
Lana, your eyes. They turned blue.
And they have a grid.
Whoa! I can see more of your details now. Oh, your paths, highest attribute, and the amount of implants you have are now visible.
Handy.
So, can you finally tell us what Nathan's path is?
Lana threw a guilty look at the young man, and he nodded in response.
He's a technomancer.
Sounds ominous.
Well, if it's anything like a necromancer, we'll soon have an army of unthinking machines doing our bidding.
Nori winked at the young man and offered him her curved smile. Nathan winced, but he liked Nori. He smiled and winked back at her.
Okay, now let's try the sensors again. Ah! It worked! I can just barely reach the equipment out there. 4 containers and 1 Infidlon excavator Mark IV. And now I'm controlling them. Bringing them on board.
Careful not to scratch my car.
There was no sound as the containers hovered into the freighter, except for the metallic grunt of floor plating put under sudden pressure.
All 4 containers are aboard. Huh. That's interesting.
What is?
I can also order the excavator to come to the ship.
We don't have the room for it. Even folded, that thing is bigger than a container.
If I'm reading it right, we don't need to bring it inside. I think it can sort of plug into the ship's hull.
Like the cylindrical container the pirates lifted off the ship when we first found her. Lana, you're a genius.
So, we're taking it with us?
Hell yes!
I bet we can learn how to operate this thing on Earth. Think about it. Our own unending supply of warped busters.
I'm sold. And it might be a long shot, but if we can reprogram it to attack the warped, it could make our assault on them a whole lot easier. Lana, do it.
All right, if you guys are sure.
She input the command and everyone looked up to the main view screen. The giant excavator's legs unfolded and it started walking toward Unity. It easily scaled the ship's hull and perched on its top. There was a string of clicking sounds as it locked into place.
That's it! We're good to go!
Visited the moon, drove around a little, and scored some alien equipment. Not bad for a single day of work.
Cargo hold doors are closing. Mounted machinery is secured. Activating thrusters. Increasing power to thrusters. And we're off.
The ship shot into space, leaving the shrinking moon far behind. Nori's chair melted around her. She stood and looked at her friends with a triumphant grin.
We did it. We'll arrive at the space station in 6 hours.
Oh, I'm beat. Healing back from a pancake state is no joke, let me tell you that. I could use some rest.
I think we all could. It's about 4 a.m. back on Earth. But I think it's best if we all take the time to finish leveling up first.
You guys go right ahead.
Lana made more colorful monitors pop up around her.
I'm going to stick around here for a while and explore what my new path and implant are capable of.
Nori smiled as she looked at the enthusiastic younger woman, already deep inside her own world.
I only met her a few days ago, but I honestly don't know how I ever managed anything without her.
That girl grows on you fast, and she's got some mad potential. We'd all be dead if it weren't for her.
They walked into the quarters and each took to their bed. Nori gulped some water, offered some to Nathan, who shook his head, then accessed her status.
Level 5 reached. +2 levels. Path crossroad reached. Choose 1. Pilot. Heightened control over flying vessels. Maverick. Improve control of land vehicles and small weapons.
She frowned as she considered her options. Maverick appealed to her sense of self-preservation and the desire to better protect herself and her friends, but Pilot would grant her better control over Unity. She considered the possibilities and sighed as she came to a conclusion. As a navigator, her combat prowess would be lacking compared to those who had a purely combat path. Her role was to pilot the ship. She was the only person capable of doing that. Since the calamity had struck, she was more focused on survival and immediate needs, but their current situation forced her to consider her future. And from that perspective, Pilot was the obvious choice. She made her selection.
Attribute points to assign. 2.
She smiled bitterly as she thought how Bulko would get 2 points for a single level up. Even compared to the 2 ex-students, she was at a disadvantage. The tech extracted from the excavator had raised her to level 5, but the other 2 were already well on their way toward level 6. Still, she had no regrets. For better or for worse, her actions led her all this way, and she was not the type of person to second-guess herself every step of the way. She considered her attributes. Agility and control were both the primary attributes for a navigator, and both had 4 points. Awareness and intelligence were her secondary, each set at 2. Nori pondered the issue for a moment and put the extra points in intelligence. It never hurt to be smarter, and it would be handy in case she'd want to use an advanced implant like Lana's.
Nori. Human. Level 5. 16 tech. Path. Navigator. Pilot. Score 12. Attributes. Strength 2. Agility 4. Primary. Intelligence 4. Secondary. Control 4. Primary. Awareness 2. Secondary. Appeal 2. Conditions. Level suppression -2.
She nodded to herself in satisfaction and went to bed. Bulko frowned deeply as he viewed his options.
Level 5 reached. Path crossroad reached. Choose 1. Auganeer. Specialize in personal augmentation technologies. Astrotech. Better control and data feedback when working on spacecrafts.
The system didn't make it easy for him. He could envision himself as an Auganeer, building more powerful fighting tools like his puncher, coating himself with a devastating array of personal and integrated weapons.
Like that hero in those movies that had all sorts of iron tools. What was his name? Metal Man? No, that's stupid.
He shook his head and focused on the other option, Astrotech. He was part of a crew now, and that was the best option for him to help the team.
Attribute points to assign 2.
He was sorely tempted to increase his strength again. With 2 more points, he could maintain his multi-purpose augmentation tool, even without Nori's exoskeleton, but he thought he could do better than that. 10 points were already too much to invest in a secondary attribute. His path's main attributes were intelligence and control. Shrugging, he divided the points, putting 1 in each. He grinned at the sudden rush of clarity that came over him and checked his status.
Bulko. Human. Level 5. 18 tech. Path. Engineer. Astrotech. Score 13. Attributes. Strength 10. Secondary. Agility 2. Intelligence 3. Primary. Control 3. Primary. Awareness 2. Secondary. Appeal 2. Conditions. Attribute boost. +1 per level.
Finished with his task, he looked up. The thin partitions around Nori were up. Nathan remained in place, frowning.
Good night, kid.
He didn't bother raising his own partitions and simply threw himself on the empty bed, leaving the young man sitting alone in the flying spaceship. Nathan felt his headache worsen as he studied his new options. This time, the pain wasn't as bad as the first time he'd leveled, but it wasn't much better either. His heart thumped loudly in his ears, and he felt beads of sweat forming as soon as he accessed his status screen. The tech was calling for him again, demanding his attention.
Level 5 reached. Path crossroad reached. Choose one. Bonded. Form a personal bond with one technological item. Wild. Exponentially increase control's range and strength.
The young man was stuck. Thankfully, each choice sounded like he'd be the one in control, not the tech, but he had no idea what to choose. On the surface, the wild option sounded better. Up until now, he was only able to interact with the ship's system when he was inside it. Even when he tried to connect with the excavator, he was only able to do it from a dangerously close distance. Having extra range and better control would be a big help. On the other hand, other than these two occasions, he didn't encounter many opportunities to utilize his path powers. Bonded sounded interesting, but he had no idea what it actually meant. Did it mean an actual physical bonding, where he'd become part machine? Or did it just mean he'd be able to control one target over any distance? He thought the second option was more probable, assuming it counterbalanced the wild option. Nathan sighed and wiped his sweaty forehead. He could feel the tech agitating inside his body, demanding he satisfy their purpose with a choice. Refusing to act rashly, he closed his eyes and reached deep into himself. A rapid series of pictures flashed through his mind. He saw himself standing in the middle of an army of abstract machines, controlling them, guiding them to do his bidding. A ruler and conqueror, who none could stand against. The images shifted. Nathan's jaw slackened at what the other option showed him. He nodded to himself and made his selection.
Select an item to bond with.
Once again, he closed his eyes and extended his senses. He knew that if he wanted to, he could bond with any technological item on board. The anti-grav lift, Bulko's exoskeleton, or even his puncher. But he skipped all those options and thought bigger. An image of the excavator flashed in his mind, and he sensed that if he wanted to, he could turn it into an extension of his body. But again, he extended his senses. Further than the excavator. Bigger. The ship. Unity. Unknowingly, his friends had selected the perfect name for her. Perfect for what he was about to do. Bonding. Unity. It was so fitting. There was no question in his mind. The tech still called for him, but he was confident he could resist their lure. He made his selection. The floor shifting under him was the last conscious thought that ran through his mind before he drifted into oblivion. Chapter 16. Synthesis.
What the hell is going on?
Bulko shouted, jumping to his feet. The thin partitions around the other two beds lowered to the floor, revealing Lana and Nori. They were both wide awake and alert. Unity shuddered again, and everyone wobbled to their feet. Then their eyes found Nathan's unconscious body.
Nathan!
Lana shouted. The floor under the young man shifted. Tiles of thin metal plates spread over his body, covering him in a cocoon of metal.
Nathan, no!
Lana reached him just as the last plate was starting to cover his face. She grabbed it, trying to pry it open, but the insistent metal nearly cut off her fingers.
Ow!
Move, girl!
Bulko pushed her aside. His matte augmentation tool was already deployed. Two plier-like appendages extended from his shoulders and grabbed a plate. The engineer pulled, his exoskeleton humming loudly as it tried to lend it enough strength to rip apart the unyielding metal.
It's not working! The ship is eating him!
True enough, despite Bulko's best effort to slow it down, the Nathan-shaped bulge was slowly sinking. The ship shuddered again.
Damn it!
And Nathan disappeared, leaving behind a perfectly smooth-looking floor.
What the hell's going on?
To the bridge, quickly! Lana, run a sensor sweep. I'll check the ship's status. Hurry!
They ran to the bridge. Lana threw herself onto the chair before it even finished fully forming and started to madly tap on her light console.
What the hell?
Synthesis progression, 1%.
What does it mean? Why would the ship swallow him like that?
It's his path.
It's gotta be.
What?
Nathan has a natural affinity with machines. You saw how he connected to the ship using those transparent fibers. We all just hit level 5. I assume that, like me, you were given a choice to upgrade your path?
That's right. I upgraded into an astrotech. It should help me take better care of Unity.
And I became an admin. It improves my ability to interact with software, I guess.
And I upgraded into a pilot. We all evolved, turning into something new. I'm betting that's what happened to Nathan.
But why would the ship swallow him up like that? Nothing that drastic happened to us.
That kid is strange. He doesn't tick like the rest of us. Remember how he fixed the thruster controls? Or opened doors without a console? I think Nori's right. Whatever's happening to him is happening at a deeper level than us. We'll just have to wait until he finishes whatever he's doing.
How long will that take?
It's still on 1%. So I say we have at least several more hours to go. We're still 5 hours away from the space station. The best thing we can do right now is go back to sleep. We have to... What the hell?
Nori's eyes widened as she noticed part of the floor extending as if it was gum being stretched by a giant. Lana tapped on her console and her pale face turned even whiter.
What? What do you know?
Instead of answering, the young expert projected the feed from her monitor to the main view screen. The image on the front display changed from showing the stars to Unity's outer hull. The mounted excavator was visible, or more precisely, what was left of it. The machine was being torn apart. Its legs were severed and, along with the ring-like body, were in the process of being slowly swallowed, sinking into the hull. The machine's head was being pulled toward the front of the ship by an unknown force. More screeching noise and rumbling followed.
Yeah, I'm not going to be able to sleep much.
The two giant screens on either side of the main one flashed, and the text they displayed changed slightly.
Synthesis progression, 2%.
I don't detect any hull breaches, thank God. Whatever's happening to the ship doesn't seem to be a threat.
Of course not. It's perfectly normal for a spaceship to eat people and giant robots. Nothing to write home about, folks. Just to be on the safe side, I'm going to put on my spacesuit. And I suggest you girls do the same.
It's been about 5 minutes since that message first showed up. At this rate, it looks like it'll reach 100% roughly around the time we make it to the station. Lucky for us, the thrusters don't seem to be affected by what's happening.
She stood up, letting the chair unfold back into the floor.
Lana, Bulko's right. Let's all put on our spacesuits and just wait it out.
What about Nathan?
There's nothing we can do for him now, girl. We'll just have to wait and hope he pulls through.
I guess you're right. I'm going to go through the ship's systems to try and make sure. He's going to get an earful for the scare he gave me once he gets out. And as you like to say, I promise you that.
Nathan was alone in the darkness. He felt the insistent pull of the tech, trying to force him to accept their rule. But he resisted. Slowly, the tech succumbed to his will. They began working together, building, making connections where none existed before. Gradually, the young man became aware of something in the darkness beyond his own body. Something else was there with him, slowly enveloping him in a warm embrace. Unity. But the connection was still incomplete, flawed. The tech screamed at him again to let go, wanting to complete their task, to override the master. But he stubbornly resisted. Slowly, their pull lessened and the connection to Unity, though tangible, solidified. They were one. None of them got any sleep. They spent the hours in flight, anxiously watching Unity's changes. After an hour, the excavator was fully absorbed by the ship, with no trace of it left. The ship's bridge continued to extend, and by the end of the third hour, it was 5 meters longer than it used to be. Then the walls at the area that separated it from the rest of the ship started closing in, narrowing the passage. After the fourth hour, the bridge's entrance had transformed into a single, short hallway. Whereas before the supply room, quarters, and the cargo bay all opened directly to it, now they all opened into a short corridor that funneled into the bridge. The ship had gained a neck, connecting the bridge with the rest of it. When the fifth hour drew in, a dot appeared on the ship's sensors.
I'm picking up the space station.
Lana called loudly.
We'll be there in 30 minutes.
She glanced at the view screen's side monitor.
Synthesis progression, 98%.
Come on, Nathan. Better come out of there when this is done.
Just in time.
Nori came in from the quarters. They had long foregone wearing the spacesuits after the first nerve-wracking hour when they realized the ship was not going to fall apart.
Everything looks normal. Aside from the structural changes to the ship, I don't think there's anything else different with her. 20 minutes to the station.
Synthesis progression, 99%.
Lana got up.
I'm going to wait for him in the quarters.
I'll join you.
They walked back, standing and staring silently at the spot the young man had disappeared into. The minutes ticked by. Then another deep shudder ran through the ship.
Synthesis completed.
The quarters floor remained unchanged.
Nathan? You can come out now?
She glanced at a monitor mounted on the wall, hoping for more information. But after a few seconds, the message disappeared, replaced with generic status information.
Nathan!
Bulko put his large hand on her shoulder.
I'm sorry, kiddo. I liked that kid too.
No!
Lana shook her head, moving away from his hand.
He's not gone! He'll be back! You'll see!
I'm not trying to...
No! Nathan will come back!
Guys, you should come over here. Now.
They exchanged looks, and Lana hurried out of the room, nearly bumping into the newly formed corridor wall that wasn't there a few hours ago.
Nathan!
Nori pointed at the corner. The floor was shifting. The plates unfolded and built upward, slowly forming into a tall tube roughly 1 meter in diameter. Lana clutched her chest and watched with bated breath at the shifting metal. The tube continued to grow, reaching nearly 2 meters before it stopped. Instead of being smooth, the metal plates were stacked on top of one another, conveying the feel of an organic form.
Holy hell. This thing almost looks like a chrysalis.
A stripe appeared on the front of the tube, spanning all the way from top to bottom.
I think that's exactly what it is.
Nori watched as the line grew wider, forming into a long slit. Grayish fluids started pouring out of it. Then, the front snapped open. A torrent of liquid burst out of the container, spilling over the bridge's floor and revealing Nathan's limp body. He was naked, and his eyes were closed. Without the liquid holding him in place, the young man's body lurched forward, slowly falling outward.
Nathan!
Lana ran and grabbed his head before it hit the floor.
I got you!
Nori bent behind her and gently put 2 fingers to his neck.
He's alive. He's just unconscious.
Well then, move over, girls. I'll take care of him. Let's spare the poor kid the awkwardness of waking up to the sight of you two staring at his naked ass.
I wasn't even looking!
Lana protested, though she turned her head, blushing slightly as the large engineer bent and easily picked up her friend.
I'll find something to put on him. Brought a bunch of spare clothes with me. I might have to hold it around him with a rope or something, though.
We've nearly arrived. I'll go prepare to dock at the station.
She started reaching for the pilot seat when the main monitor flickered again and new lines of text appeared on it.
Unity. Evolving ship. Class. Mining freighter. Bonded level 5. Upgrades available. Defense. Mobility. Mining. Structure.
What is this? It almost looks like...
Like our status screens.
The two women looked at each other.
Did Nathan just...
Turn Unity into a ship that can level up?
It can't be. Can it?
What else can it be?
But it makes no sense. How can a ship level up?
Nori reached for her light console and punched some keys.
I can't interact with the screen. All the other navigational interfaces still work, though.
Lana raised her arms, forming a chair around her, and pored over her own console.
I can't either. I just get the same readings I normally do.
Maybe this guy can help you girls out. After the long nap he took, he should be up for a little work.
They turned to see Bulko helping Nathan, who was walking unsteadily onto the bridge.
Nathan!
Lana exclaimed and ran to wrap the young man in a tight embrace.
Careful there, girl. He's still a little shaky.
Nathan.
Nori approached the young man and, to his surprise, hugged him as well.
I'm glad you're all right.
You are, aren't you? All right, I mean...
Nathan smiled faintly at her and nodded, his eyes sparkling.
You did what?
He stepped unevenly onto the bridge and held up his hands. The ship obeyed, and the floor shifted, growing and wrapping his lower body completely. A half-helmet closed around his head with an opaque visor covering his eyes.
What did he say?
That he's one with the ship. I think that's why the ship is listed as level 5. They're connected.
The three stood around the technomancer's chair, staring at him in awe. Nathan felt his fears melting away as he floated serenely, one with Unity. His senses expanded, and he could feel every part of the ship pulsing as if it was an extension of his body. He could feel her purpose, a simple freighter that had awakened as something more. There was still something there, deeper still, that was beyond his sight. He sensed that he could reach it if he really wanted to. But that meant going deeper, allowing the tech to have an even greater hold on him. He could not risk that. Instead, he pulled back his thoughts. He had yet to view the changes he'd undergone, and his memory of the last day was hazy. Status, he thought.
Nathan. Human Scion. Level 5. 20 tech. Path. Technomancer. Bonded. Score 19. Attributes. Strength 1. Secondary. Agility 2. Primary. Intelligence 5. Primary. Control 5. Primary. Awareness 4. Primary. Appeal 2. Secondary. Conditions. Tech Infusion Boost plus 5%. Score Boost plus 10%. Bond.
The data he saw was about what he expected. He had invested the attribute points from the recent level into Control, one of his 4 primary attributes, along with Agility, Intelligence, and Awareness. He furrowed his brow as he saw the new Bond condition. There were no extra details, but as he pondered over it, a new message flashed across his view.
Bond. Forms short-range mental connection with a bonded subject. Distance determined by level. Plus 20% to path powers inside of range. Minus 20% outside.
That's not too bad, he smiled to himself. The exact distance per level wasn't specific, but he felt certain that he could leave Unity docked at El Zygo station and still maintain contact with her from every part of it. He heard a knock on his pod and willed the visor to become transparent. Nori, Lana, and Bulko stared down at him.
So,
Lana said hesitantly.
are you sure you're all right, Nathan?
He nodded, smiling reassuringly at her.
Can you tell us what's happening to the ship?
He thought about it for a moment, then gave her an apologetic look.
I see. Do you at least know why Unity changed your shape?
He could sense the change had something to do with the excavator that the ship absorbed into herself. He felt there was more to it than just a simple physical alteration, but the exact details were hidden from him, submerged deep within the connection he dare not form. He shrugged again.
What about this?
Nori said, pointing at the main view screen that was still displaying the ship's status.
Can you tell us about the upgrades part?
Yes, that he could do. A small mental nudge was all it took. The upgrades section unlocked for all, then expanded.
Defense. 1. Basic plating. Level 1. Palladium. 18 tons. 2. Medium plating. Level 5. Laststeel. 6 tons. Mobility. 1. Basic thrusters. Level 1. Available. 2. Null tunnel drive. Level 5. Available. Damaged. Mining. 1. Alter mode. In progress. 2. Grapplers. Level 1. Trinium. 1,500 kilograms. 3. Asteroid cannon. Level 5. Trinium. 200 kilograms. Mithril. 80 kilograms. Configuration. 1. Restructuring. Level 1. Trinium. Based on size. 2. Integral storage capacitors. Level 5. Trinium. 8 tons.
Man, that shit is something else. Am I getting this right? As long as we have the required resource, we can upgrade the ship?
Nathan. That asteroid cannon thing? I'm not sure what it is, but if it can shoot off asteroids, I bet it can do some real damage to the warped. Can we build it? We have all the required resources on board.
Nathan nodded and closed his eyes. A message appeared on the screen.
Existing upgrade in progress. Alter mode. Cannot start a new upgrade. Asteroid cannon.
Damn. That thing could have been a game changer. Can you cancel the current upgrade?
Why did you start this upgrade in the first place? These kinds of decisions should be made by everyone. We don't have an unlimited supply of resources after all. What does it even do?
Nathan looked at Lana helplessly.
He doesn't know. It just started on its own immediately after his synthesis process had completed. And as far as he can tell, it took no resources to run.
Any idea when it will be completed, then?
Nathan nodded.
Alter mode upgrade, 9%.
Nori looked at the display and shook her head.
We're not even 1/10 of the way there.
What I don't get is that we have a defense category. Why not an offense one?
Nathan pondered the question. Weapons were a tool meant for sowing death and destruction. Unity wasn't like that. She was gentler. She had a different purpose.
Unity wasn't meant for battle. Did I get that right, Nathan?
The young man nodded.
I guess I can salvage an anti-aircraft cannon from one of our military bases, mount it on the hull, and load it with warp buster rounds.
And how would you control it from inside the ship? Besides, it would take too long to set up, and we still haven't completed our mission. We got the resources we need. Now let's make some ammo out of it.
She got into her chair and gently guided the ship to the docking bay. Unity's new configuration required her to adjust her previously calculated vector, but the ship responded easily to her commands, and in no time at all, a low shudder ran through the hull.
We're docked.
Their chairs folded back into the floor, and Nathan's pod peeled off him, leaving the man standing on his feet. They had a newly formed ship and a cargo hold full of valuable resources. Lana turned and smiled at her friends.
Let's go do some business.
Chapter 17. Second Contact.
Greetings, valued customers.
Hey, Al.
The alien crooked his neck and did a masterful job of pouting with 2 sets of jaws.
My name is Alzygo, Miss Lana, not Al.
I'm sorry. I meant no offense. We humans often tend to shorten our friends' names.
Ah, I understand. Local customs often vary from species to species. However, for mine, it is considered an affront to distort one's name.
Alzygo.
Nori came to her friend's rescue.
We did it. We got the resources we need.
So there was trinium down there?
Oh, yeah. We got tons of the stuff. Palladium, too. Even some mithril.
Mithril?
Alzygo's multiple jaws dropped.
It is rare and quite expensive.
We figured as much. We don't have much of it, though.
I understand. Well, you'll need the trinium for your ammunition, but if you'd like, I'm willing to accept the other resources as payments to cover your loan.
How much will you give us for it?
Bulko asked bluntly.
The standard price for a ton of trinium is 600 Pytek. Palladium goes for 800 per ton, and mithril for 500.
500? I thought you said that stuff's expensive.
It is. It's 500 per 1 kilogram.
That means our mithril alone is worth 100 grand.
You may cover the loan right now if you wish.
We don't. You saw the upgrade options. We need the mithril for the cannon, and the other materials are important too. Besides, once we take out the broodmother, we should have enough Pytek to pay for everything.
Upgrade options? What do you mean? Does it have something to do with the ship's new configuration?
Oh, yeah. Apparently, Nathan's path turned it into an evolving ship, so it's upgradable now. I guess it's pretty common, right?
No.
The alien took a step back and hastily looked to his side as if expecting to find a hidden spy.
Evolving ships are extremely rare, even beyond the means of large organizations. They are highly valued as their growth potential is virtually limitless. As far as I know, only system lords or higher beings are powerful enough to acquire one.
Nori felt a pit open in her stomach at his words. She wished Lana wasn't so quick to talk, but she knew the young expert had no idea she was revealing information that should be kept secret. Everything about the new universe that opened up for them was still a mystery. She looked up, meeting the alien's eyes.
I trust we can rely on your discretion?
He lifted one arm.
Of course. You are my valued customers, and I would not betray your confidence. Besides, I do not wish to draw the notice of forces whose attention is better turned elsewhere.
I'm glad to hear it. Now, why is it considered so rare? Nathan's path transformed the ship to its current form in just a few hours.
I have told you before that you humans are a strange species. I've never heard of a path granting an evolving ship. The Pytek cost required of awakening a ship is astronomical. It is the equivalent of giving life, true life, to a machine. You should be careful. Your ship is now easily worth 10 times this entire station. And as I said before, you do not want to draw too much attention to it.
Wait. Did you just claim Unity is alive?
I have so many questions.
To save time, I suggest we first deliver the trinium to the fabricator. After that, I'll be happy to answer more of your questions.
Good idea.
How much would you like to use? I remind you that 1 ton can be converted into 100,000 of the ones you call 22s, or 25,000 warp buster rounds.
Bulko?
1,000 rounds per person should be enough for a month of defense or 1 assault on a warped fort. Half that for the warped busters.
So a ton of trinium would arm 100 men? There are several thousand survivors in the shelters, and I guess that at least a quarter of them can handle a weapon. I think 10 tons will be enough for now.
8, actually. After my 20% commission.
Yeah, I might have forgotten to mention that earlier. We can either pay a flat rate for using the fabricator, or let Alzygo keep some of the alloy as payment instead.
I dare say you can afford it now. According to your ship's cargo manifest, you have over 80 tons of trinium aboard.
So 12 tons?
Well, all right. And make a quarter of that into warped busters.
Wonderful! I will transfer the orders to the autoloaders. Your ammunition shipment will be ready within an hour. In the meantime, may I extend my hospitality? I have prepared a lounge area for you while you wait.
Several robotic arms extended from the station's hull toward Unity. A bright force bubble erupted around the ship, then its upper hull opened up.
Huh. I didn't know she could do that.
The arms effortlessly passed through the shield and dipped into the ship's cargo hold. A moment later, they retracted, carrying one of the containers.
This way, please.
They walked to the main deck, passing through the vast open space toward one of the faraway walls. An entire section of the wall had transformed into a huge window, and Earth was clearly visible through it. A variety of benches, chairs, and even hammocks in all shapes and sizes were spread in front of the window. The alien motioned toward them.
I've researched your species' favorite relaxation habits. I found many confusing and sometimes conflicting examples, so I took the liberty of creating several options. Please, sit.
Lana and Nathan grinned at each other and sat down on a large and comfortable 3-person sofa. Nori took a dining chair and Bolko threw his heavy bulk into one of the hammocks.
Oh, yeah, that's the stuff.
So, you had a question for me?
Nori sat straighter in her chair.
We do. We found an excavator on the moon. A big machine with some sort of energy weapon it used for mining. There was no one around to operate it, and it attacked us when we approached.
Self-sufficient excavators are expensive. They can be dropped on spots with high mineral concentration and left alone to work. The owner only has to make the trip to pick up the mined resources and perform the maintenance.
We found log entries that suggested the same, but they didn't explain why someone would go to the trouble of starting a mining operation on the moon.
I suspect the ships that infused your planet could have been carrying mining equipment. They likely deployed it when they realized your moons contained valuable minerals. Now that I think about it, it does sound like an excellent opportunity. This star system is seldom visited, and human technology apparently isn't advanced enough to easily reach the moon. It's a very lucrative opportunity for an enterprising miner, but the risk of losing their equipment would be small.
Well, it's ours now. It's our moon, our resources they were mining there. Finders keepers. That's the galactic law, right?
Indeed. However, autonomous excavators are expensive, as their AI matrix requires a lot of tech to create.
AI matrix?
The more tech is infused into an AI matrix, the smarter and more self-sufficient it is. Fully aware AI are rare, as their cost is prohibitively high.
Sounds like an evolving ship.
No, an evolving ship is much higher on the evolutionary ladder. It is alive, not merely sentient.
Nathan nodded. He had no doubt about the truth of the XR's words. He could sense Unity's consciousness, even from here. She was still in her infancy, but she already had a personality of her own. It was only a matter of guiding her along the path of maturity for her to reach her full potential.
So that must be why I was able to extract tech from the excavator. That gizmo metal thingy behind the console was its AI matrix, and we all leveled up from it.
I have noticed that. Congratulations on making it to level 5. I see you've already selected your crossroad paths.
Yeah, what are those exactly?
Every 5 levels, a path reaches a crossroad. It is an opportunity to focus and adapt it to your needs. It also makes one significantly more powerful than the other.
Is that why the level 5 and 6 warped are substantially stronger than level 4s?
Of course. They don't have paths like enlightened species, but they do get more powerful abilities as they level up. Take you, for example. I see you have narrowed your focus to become a pilot. That is good. In space battles, a pilot will always beat a navigator with the same path score.
Their host's comment reminded Lana of something. She narrowed her eyes and studied him closely.
Alzygo, XR, Level 8. Faction, Toref Clan. Path, Merchant, Broker. Highest attribute, Appeal. Number of implants, 17.
She was obviously getting less information on him than he was on them.
He probably has a more advanced implant than mine,
she thought. Then she forced herself back to the conversation.
While we're on the subject, there was something I was wondering about. Different people with the same paths. Their score is based on the same set of attributes, right?
That is correct.
That sounds very limiting. It means there's hardly any variation. 2 human navigators will always have roughly the same score, same capabilities. You also mentioned that some species have attributes that start naturally at 50. That means they start off immediately with a higher score. How is that fair?
These are good questions, but it shows your ignorance of the enlightened universe.
He paused and stared for a long moment through the window.
You first need to remember the basic function of tech is to unify every aspect of our lives. It allows us to use each other's technology and to quantify us in a measurable and comparable way. But that doesn't necessarily mean we are limited by it. True, some species can have very high scores, even at level 0, but it often comes at the expense of something else. The Gorath have immense strength and are fearsome warriors on the battlefield, but their size makes it hard for them to interact with most other enlightened species. This limits their trade and thus their race's technological advancement. There are rumors of godlike beings at the edge of the known galaxy, but they keep to themselves, mostly.
I see. Still seems imbalanced.
There are ways to offset that, of course. Implants, augmentation, even treatments to increase your attributes or path score directly. As a matter of fact, most beings have at least one such enhancement.
So the entire galaxy is into body modification? Fan-fucking-tastic.
It is the accepted way. Once your race travels beyond your star system and meets new cultures, you too will learn to accept it.
I think that sounds great. I, for one, can't wait to go out and meet new cultures and talk to interesting aliens.
Nori and Bolko exchanged a glance. The young girl's attitude had changed since being too timid to step into an alien space station.
No chance of that with how damaged our ship is. Our no-tunnel drive is busted, life support is about to go down, and structural integrity is severely compromised. She needs a lot of loving before we can take her out for a long journey.
My station can repair most of the damage, but I'm afraid you'll need a new null tunnel unit, and I don't have one to sell you, and it is too complex to fabricate. I can order one and have it brought in, but that would take weeks and require a large amount of Pytech.
We need a bunch of other stuff as well. Things that aren't available as an upgrade. Weapons, better sensors, landing gear, a way to exit the hangar without venting half the ship.
I'm afraid you'll need to reach a port with more advanced facilities than my own. Many of the larger space stations can offer technical upgrades, but mine is too small for that.
That's fine. We're done with space travel for now anyway. The ship will hold as long as we're just flying it inside the atmosphere. Let's worry about dealing with the warped first, before we go explore the galaxy.
I'm down with that.
Are you absolutely sure you don't prefer to settle your debt using the resources you have acquired? I'm especially interested in the mithril.
No, one of Unity's available upgrades is an asteroid cannon, and that requires mithril. I'd rather keep what we have now, especially since it doesn't seem likely we'll be able to get more anytime soon.
I can understand that. Mithril's natural properties make it an ideal component in many projectile-based weapon system designs.
Oh, that reminds me.
Lana reached into her pocket and took out a small pebble.
Do you have any equipment that can analyze this?
It's something we found on the moon.
Nori added, shooting the younger woman a warning look. Alzygo took the pebble, held it in his open palm, and activated a small console on his wrist with his other arm.
It's just an asteroid shard. I detect traces of nickel, iron, and other similar elements. It isn't worth much on its own, though it contains some of the components required to synthesize trinium.
So you're not picking up any energy signature?
No. Why? Should I?
I guess not. Thanks for your help.
You're quite welcome.
Any update on the ammo?
He checked his wrist.
About halfway through.
I still can't believe how easily we all adjusted. We're lounging on a space sofa, looking down on Earth, while having a conversation with an alien about making bullets.
Nathan frowned. He was feeling better since the synthesis, but he most definitely did not feel well adjusted. Volko shrugged off her comment.
You either adapt or you die. That's the law of the jungle.
The young woman shook her head.
There has to be more to it than that.
Of course there is, miss.
They all looked up to their host.
One of the tech's functions is to stabilize brain chemistry. It's another aspect of their healing capability. For most species, mental deficiency is a result of a chemical imbalance. The tech can easily rectify that.
Wait, are you saying that the goddamned nanobots control my mind?
Volko half rose from the hammock. Nathan paled at the large man's words, and his fingers clenched around the soft sofa fabric. So it wasn't just a figment of his imagination. The tech was trying to mess around with his mind. However, their tall host shook his head.
Not at all. Hallucinations, blind panic are all biological impurities which the tech can fix. It does not control you. If it did, you'd become a warped.
What about a person's personality or point of view?
They would not be affected, of course.
Even if we're talking about someone twisted? A sadist or a psychopath?
If such personality is a result of chemical imbalance or physical trauma, then yes, they should be made better. But people who are like that naturally will not be affected.
The navigator glanced briefly at the engineer and nodded.
That's good to know.
So, tech can heal mental trauma, just like it can physical damage?
That is correct, and such adjustments are almost instantaneous.
So infused individuals shouldn't have any lasting issues, like the inability to speak?
None at all.
Nathan lowered his head as his three friends turned to look at him. He had no answers to give them, literally and figuratively. All he knew was that if he ever surrendered to the tech, it would override his mind. The young man shuddered and closed his eyes.
Okay, I can accept that tech is generally good for us. What I don't get is how it works. If I needed just one tech to level up for the first time, why did we need 16 to reach level 5?
Tech has to reach something called critical mass in order to increase its host's level and improve their bodies. Scientists and experts have studied the tech for millennia, and our understanding of it is still tenuous at best.
Wait, do you mean that in order to level up, we have to double the amount of tech each time? So if we started at 1, then 2, then 4, 8, etc.?
Exactly.
Wow, that's crazy. It means that we'll need 32 tech to reach level 6, 512 for level 10, and... Holy cow! About 500,000 to reach level 20!
No wonder the tech we extracted from the level 6 Inthidlon pilot was enough to bring 3 of us to level 3. And later on, the level 6 warped we killed brought Martin up to level 4. It must have been closer to level 7.
You are beginning to understand. Tech is expensive and prohibitively hard to come by. Most civilians can afford to buy levels no higher than 10. Professional soldiers, explorers, and mercenaries often have the means to purchase or hunt warped to get more, but even that has its limits. Rich merchants, leaders of large organizations, and rulers often spend millions to increase their level.
I guess it's not like a computer game then after all. Reaching level 40 would require, what, around 1 trillion tech? That's crazy.
Yes, the system lords are rumored to have levels that reach that high, and some tell stories of aliens who were even stronger, though I doubt those to be true.
You've mentioned system lords several times before. Who are they?
Oh, I can tell you that. They're these ultra-powerful aliens that control entire fleets, and their territories cover entire star systems.
She's correct. There are scores of them spread throughout the galaxy. They usually keep to themselves and do not interfere in local laws or internal struggles, but they do enforce galactic laws. To anger them is to seek death. That is partly why I find the notion of an external force influencing your planet so unlikely. One of the first laws is to keep away from uninfused planets and let them reach maturity on their own. Was there anything else you wanted to talk about?
I do. Steering away from intergalactic overlords, there was something I wanted to ask about paths, specifically a path score.
The tall alien looked at her expectantly.
Some of us got a notification saying our score had increased, though none of us leveled up at that time. Do you know why that was?
Alzygo shook his head.
I keep forgetting you've only recently been infused. Yes, of course. Performing extraordinary feats that relate to your path may result in a spontaneous increase to the score. It reflects an innate ability, a resonance you have with your chosen path that makes you even more proficient with it. Whenever such an occurrence happens, the tech in your body reconfigure and optimize, and that results in your score increasing. Mind you, it takes a lot of effort to improve oneself in that fashion, and as you raise in level, the harder it gets. There are easier, faster methods to improve your score.
Such as?
As I have mentioned earlier, implants and augmentations, gene therapy, temporary chemical boosters and such.
Chemical boosters?
Performance-enhancing drugs are quite common in some colonies, though one must take care not to overextend himself when using them. If you'd like, I have several interesting...
No, thanks. If there was one thing my mama taught me was say no to drugs.
As you wish.
A light blinked over his arm and a small monitor popped open. He looked down at it, and his jaws parted slightly.
Our ship is approaching the station.
From Earth?
No, it is a small Infidlon scout vessel. It just dropped out from Null Tunnel. I'm directing them to Docking Bay 2.
What would they be doing here?
I suspect the news of a newly infused planet has attracted the attention of some enterprising individuals. It is about time my station got more visitors.
Nori and Bulko exchanged worried looks.
Are we expecting trouble? Our ship is an Inthidlon freighter.
No, it was abandoned on your planet at the early stages of it being infused. Any claim of ownership was forfeited the moment they broke galactic law and brought it down to the surface.
That's a relief.
Yes, it would be much more reasonable to assume the newcomer came looking for the equipment that was left on the moon.
That's not much better.
They are welcome to try and get it.
Bulko growled, his fingers cradling the grip of his giant revolver.
No, this station is neutral territory. I will allow no violence here from either side.
Understood. Can we rely on your discretion? Keep what you know of us to yourself?
Of course. As I said, this is neutral territory.
In that case, I think we should be leaving.
Alzygo nodded.
The last of the trinium is being converted, and most of the ammunition has already been loaded onto your ship. It should only be a few minutes more.
They got up and hastily made their way back to the docking tube. As they walked through the wide corridor, the docking bay door next to their own opened, and an Inthidlon stepped through. The creature's blue body was almost entirely covered in a futuristic-looking gold and white body armor. He was built like an ordinary human, except that every part of visible skin was covered in short, fleshy bristles. He stopped abruptly as he noticed them.
Phlegak. Inthidlon. Level 9. Faction. Inthidlon 3rd Fleet. Path. Scout. Unveiler. Unknown. Unknown.
Lana looked at the line of text with surprise. The creature, Phlegak, examined each of the humans with obvious interest. As he turned his head, the short bristles covering his face swayed gently, like some sort of thick, rubbery fur. Then he opened his mouth, and to their surprise, spoke in clear English. "Hello, humans."
Hello, Mr. Fleck? Mr. Fleeg?
For simplicity's sake, you may refer to me as Fleek.
Right, sorry. Sorry, Fleek. We're in a bit of a hurry.
The four turned to leave, but the blue alien held up a hand. One moment, please. My sensors have detected only a single ship on the station. Yours, I believe. I have some questions I'd like answered. He lowered his hands to his waist, close to the hilts of twin pistols. Lana wasn't a gun expert, especially not when it came to alien guns, but she thought they looked even meaner than Nori's old disruptor.
We said we're in a hurry. We have no time for pesky fleas. You got a problem with that?
The alien wavered and raised his hands placidly. Please, hear me out. I came looking for missing members of my faction, and it looks like there are scant few I can turn to for answers. Please, won't you wait a little longer? I wish you no harm.
I suppose we can spare a few minutes.
Wonderful. May we convene at the station?
No.
Bulko crossed his arms.
We're in a hurry. You want to talk? Then talk.
The alien's facial bristles stiffened. Then he nodded.
Very well. A Gretka C9 freighter belonging to the Inthidlon 3rd Merchant Fleet has gone missing along with 6 of its crew members. I tracked their journey all the way to this system. My question is quite simple. Do you know what happened to them?
His tone was a bit too casual.
No. We're leaving.
Wait.
Nori stared intently at the alien.
What was a freighter from the 3rd Fleet doing here? You are aware that intervening with an uninfused planet stands against galactic law?
The Inthidlon stared back at her.
The 3rd Merchant Fleet is a commercial entity. Our ship's captains have the autonomy to decide on the best business opportunity for their vessels. If they have broken galactic law, it is even more imperative that I find them. The fleet doesn't stand behind criminal activities.
I see. Well, I'm sorry, but we can't help you. Let's go, guys.
Please! 2 of the missing were my packmates!
What makes you think we even know anything?
You are humans, yet your ship has obvious Inthidlon markers. I don't know much of your species, but my sensors detected no other vessels around the planet, so you obviously had contact with my race before. You must know something. Please.
We've never met with your people before. Our ship is based partly on your technology, yes, but we built a lot of it on our own. I'm sorry, but we can't help you.
She motioned the others, and they turned away, leaving the flustered alien behind. Once they entered the freighter and shut the door, Lana turned to the taller woman, her expression accusatory.
Why did you lie to him? The poor man was just looking for his family, I guess. We could have told him we found the ship. Alzygo said we were allowed to keep it.
We don't know anything about him. He could be lying, hiding his real agenda while fishing for information. Did you notice how he started with subtle threats at first? And when that didn't work, he tried sympathy? I don't trust someone like that. He could be here looking for the equipment we took from the moon, or for the ship itself, and I'm not giving up Unity.
Guess you have a point, but what if he was telling the truth?
They'd made it to the bridge, and Nori pointed at the main view screen, showing an arrow-shaped vessel docked next to them. The other ship was much smaller than Unity, barely twice the size of the shuttle. The muzzle of what was unquestionably an alien cannon was visible on its pointed front.
Prudence. Let's see what we can learn about him on our own. Can you scan his ship?
Of course. Ugh, these sensors are the worst. All I'm getting from them is the ship's ID. It's an Amphidlon ship, type Gorky D.
That's all?
From the sensors, yes. Luckily, Unity is also an Amphidlon vessel. Or at least it was. It has the specs of that ship's model in its database. My new implant makes accessing the information a lot easier. Let's see. Ah, here we go. It's a scout-type vessel. Quick, maneuverable, mounted with a light beam cannon. And... oh, shoot.
What is it, Lana?
There's a threat assessment chart here. If Fleek decides to attack us, we'll be completely defenseless. Its thrusters are faster and more maneuverable than ours, and that cannon is powerful enough to punch through our hull. The only advantage we have is... oh, never mind.
What advantage?
Our null tunnel drive is stronger. Was stronger. If it was still intact, we could have outrun him.
What do you think?
The tall woman ran a hand through her thick dreads as she mulled over the issue.
We can't risk it. He might be telling the truth, but we can't take the chance that he's lying. If we tell him everything and it turns out he's here looking for the missing equipment, he might attack us. The best thing we can do right now is play it safe and stay away from him. At least until we deal with our own problems.
Agreed. How come he didn't realize Unity was the ship he came looking for, though?
That's Nathan's doing. Unity is a lot different from the freighter it used to be. It might not be much of an external modification, but a lot of our internal systems have changed. Evolved. Even our energy signature is different. Our crappy sensors can tell me that much, at least. They're one of the few things that hasn't benefited from the change.
I guess that's why he thought we were using some of his species' tech. Enough of it remained for him to pick up.
The tall woman stared at the sleek-looking scout vessel with a slight frown.
Let's hope that's all he's got. If he decides to be more aggressive, there's not much we can do about it. For now, he'll be busy questioning Alzygo. We should use that time to move around. We still have a horde of warped to take care of.
His ship has weapons. Can't we... I don't know. Find a way to convince him to help out? I bet a few shots from a space cannon could easily solve our warped problem.
Too dangerous, girl. That weapon represents power. If we go to him for help, that would be showing our hand. We don't want him to get the idea that he's the meanest, strongest kid in the hood.
Bulko's right. The last shipment of cartridges is loaded. We have over 6 tons of ammunition on board. That's more than enough. We can take care of our problems on our own.
Lana stared at the blue and brown orb planet below.
I hope you're right.